Alright. In it to win it with a 4+ hour stream here. So, seems silly. So I was dreaming on another one, but the issue was that my controls died for some reason. Don't know why. It probably had to do with the fact that Microsoft Flight Sim crashed on me right before I took off on the last one. So it probably killed it. Killed my flight stick and my stuff when that happened, when it crashed. Let me just, sorry, I'm going through and deleting that last video because it was stupid. This, delete, edit, more actions, delete forever. I understand, delete forever. Alright, now we're back at it. We're actually going to be doing some flying. Yeah, loading in. So on the last stream I kind of showed it, but I'll show it again this time. Here we go. So this is my setup. I've got my throttle, my switchboard, and my flight stick. The second screen over here for the stream itself, but also for, you know, just for shit. Hang on, let me do this. This is probably better. There we go. Yeah. So, cha, cha, cha. And that's my setup. And there's you. Alright. I will go back to cha. Probably should. Wish it wasn't so bright outside right now. Did I move these over a little bit? Maybe get some of that light out. Give me one moment. It's kind of bright. Let me just set up my flight real quick. We're going to be going from Earth Day Love to LAX. Let me just set this real quick. So I'm not quite sure what's going on at LAX. I don't really know much about it, but I'm assuming that small craft parking is... I don't even know if they take small craft parking at LAX, honestly. There's small craft in general, but we're gonna do it because fuck them. Alright, there we go. Let's go ahead and get in the plane while I fix this real quick. It's so damn nice out. Something like 70-something degrees out today. And there ain't much we can do about this back here. Okay, we at it. We at it. Okay, that's a little bit more realistic. Still not even really. I don't want pushback, thank you. Let's go ahead and get our switches on. Fuel pump on. Navigation on. And for cinematic purposes, we're going to go ahead and turn off our visuals on other players. So, which one of these traffic? Okay. Nameplates off. There we go.
Task system test. Okay.
I don't have... There we go. Beautiful. So... Very good then. These computers pretty much do it all, huh? Alrighty. We are ready to go. Let me just contact ATC. Prescott ground. And this will be... There it is.
Prescott ground, Cessna Alpha, Sierra, X-ray Golf, Sierra
that was
Alpha,
the wrong one.
with Quebec request taxi for takeoff, touch, and go.
You see, I'm still learning all this nonsense here.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha taxi to and hold short of runway 21 left via taxiway Delta. Contact tower on 125 decimal tree when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 21 left via taxiway Delta Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
So I'm still learning these airports, and while I'm learning the airports... Yeah, while I'm learning the airports, I'm keeping these little markers onto the ground. Kind of want to keep my distance from him, huh? Don't want to get caught up in that wash. In fact, I'm going to sit here for a moment while he does his thing. Because I do not want to get caught up in that. It's a rainy one out here today. Cool thing about, I love taking off from Love Field because it's literally like right up the way from my house here. Not far at all. Oof.
Prescott Tower, generic November 462 Bravo 27 miles northeast, inbound ILS runway 21 left approach. Generic November 462 Bravo Prescott Tower. Altimeter tree 0 decimal 19 or 1220 at 15. Cleared ILS runway 21 left approach.
This guy's really taking a sweet time doing his taxi, huh? So I did fly with my dad yesterday, but we were both so focused on trying to fly and trying to even stay in close, formation with each other that it just didn't work out. as far as the stream goes, so I just didn't even bother recording that. Hold here. Give me one moment. So he's holding for somebody that, there he is, he's holding for him. He's coming in pretty hot though. I actually really want IFR, but that's alright. We'll just do VFR. Oh shit. Alright, holding short. On. Runway 21 left. There he goes. I actually have no interest in staying in the pattern. I shouldn't have said that, but here we are now.
Prescott Tower, Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, ready for touch and go at runway 21 left.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha altimeter 30.201220 at 17. Right touch and go approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 21 left.
Cleared for takeoff runway 21 left Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Go. Flaps down. Yeah, I'm not taxing, so please go away, tips. I should probably just turn those off. They're super annoying.
Prescott
Yeah,
Tower,
looks like
Cessna
the only
Alpha
way I'll
Sierra
do this
X-ray
is if I
Golf
do this.
Sierra Alpha, 5,100 feet to land.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha Prescott Tower. Altimeter tree 0.201220 at 17. Fly right traffic runway 21 left.
Enter right traffic runway 21 left Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Alright, and now I can cancel.
Prescott Tower, Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha, cancel landing intention.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha, your cancellation is received. Generic 62 Bravo, wind 220 at 17. Clear to land runway 21 left.
Lefts are retracted, thank you.
Clear to land runway 21 left, generic 62 Bravo.
Alright, and so we climb. And so we climb. I'm gonna wait until we get out of the Prescott area to Yo, dude, I already took fucking put my flaps away. That's why I need to take off those ends. And in fact, I'm gonna do it right now, just because it's super annoying. That's in general. I don't know how to turn off those shits. What's going on here? Auto mixture, yeah, that's literally the only thing. This is probably it. Fuck you. How do I turn off? Ah, there we go. We'll keep those on. Okay, there we go. We're good. Now we can fly. It's just really annoying me. There we go. So I'll be doing hands-on piloting. This plane does have an autopilot, but I'm not going to use it. We have probably, I don't know, 10 miles of extra fuel just in case, and I'm going to need it because I am not the most fuel-savvy pilot in the world. Try and keep my airspeed close to 70 there. Out of a lot of weather. It should clear up after we leave the Prescott area. I don't think it's too crazy once we pass the mountains. That's Granite Mountain to my left there. The local giant mountain. I'm gonna hike up that. Oh, right. Speaking of which, it looks like I need to fly above it too. Yeah, my flight plan has me going right above Granite Mountain. That should fun one. I need to be going 253 when I get on that path by the looks of it. So, whenever I go looking around at stuff, for some reason the autopilot wants to take over. Doesn't give me any control over the plane. I need to change that. What I need to do is get tracker IR. That would really help me out. Yeah, see how far that threw me out there? Just trying to look around. So I'll be cruising at about 12,000. I don't think I'm going to go all the way up to 14. Gotta get some of that airspeed back though. Oh yeah, this is going to be a long flight. I got just about 4 hours of this, which is me trying to maintain heading and attitude. Not the best pilot in the world. Not the worst pilot in the world. Pretty high up here now, though. Oh shit. What was that? Huh. That wasn't good.
Phoenix approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is type Cessna Skyhawk 7 miles north of 16 Alpha Zulu 9,500 feet. Request flight following.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha Phoenix approach. Squawk 0601.
Squawk 0601 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
I don't know how to squawk anything.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha radar contact 8 miles north of 16 Alpha Zulu 9,800 feet. Altimeter 29.94.
Roger Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
What does this mean? I'm
Phoenix approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha 8 miles north of 16 Alpha Zulu. Request IFR to Los Angeles, ready to copy.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is cleared to Los Angeles Airport as filed. Squawk 0601.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha cleared to Los Angeles Airport as filed. Squawk 0601.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha readback correct. Radar contact 10,100 feet. Altimeter 29.94, turn right heading 255, proceed on course climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
255. And climb to 12,000.
Turn right heading 255, resume own navigation climb and maintain 12,000 feet Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha contact Phoenix departure on 133.575. Good day.
133.575 for Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha. Phoenix departure Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is at 10,600 feet, climbing 12,000 feet.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha Phoenix departure altimeter 29.9 for continue as planned.
We gotta go all the way up to 12,000. It's Jesus fucking Christ, we're up here now. Alright, now that we're up here, what I'm going to do is get that podcast rolling.
Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha contact Albuquerque Center on 128.45. Good day.
Going to 128.45 Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Oh, I had it queued up and everything. What the hell? Alright, hang on. Hang on. I had it queued up, but now it's not queued up. Alright. Sorry, I know this is stupid, but... God damn it. What was it? One moment. One
is no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
All right, baby boys, let's get into her. Let's get it on.
Yeah, I love it when you say, let's get into her. That's my favorite way to start the show, where you say, you look at the two of us and you say,
with that,
yes.
then I burped immediately.
You look at us across the room, you say, let's get into it. Like, oh, she's just there. Let's get into that spread eagle episode.
And then I reflexively said, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Let's just get into it, boys. You, me, Triple P. Honestly, it's really incredible to be here with my friends. We're in Boston, and this story,
We're gonna get into her.
I would say this story, it really puts the in meth.
There you go. Welcome to the last podcast of the left, everyone. I am Ben Kissel, hanging out with Henry and Marcus. And today's episode, I don't know what's about to go on, but apparently it's about to get wackadoo. Is it a cult? Is it just a group of idiots? We'll get into it. Maybe it's both. It's the Children of Thunder.
This is the one where, this is like one of those cults where they didn't attract any rocket scientists. Because they always say that with Heaven's Gate or Ocean Radio, being like, no, you see, there's some learned people amongst this crowd of neutered, bowl-cutted weirdos. But no, this one is just, it's essential crew only.
All right, the Children of Thunder, not to be confused with the Thunder Down Under, which is a fantastic mail review in Las Vegas.
The Children of Thunder was a Mormon mini-cult near the San Francisco Bay Area, comprised of exactly 3 people, including the leader.
That's all he needed.
A guy named Taylor Heltzer. In the summer of 2000, these cultists murdered 5 people and dismembered 3 of them, dumping the dismembered remains into the California Delta in 9 overstuffed duffel bags.
And while, yes, we did just cover one of the craftiest predators known to American,
most disgusting people around.
Yes, Randy Kraft. These guys are quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where they're, instead of their crimes being slow, under the radar, a tete-a-tete with the police, like, one ultimate villain, which versus a bunch of confused lawmen.
Sure.
These 3 morons get caught real hard, real fast.
Okay.
And, but this is not, we're not even getting a murder this episode.
No, we're not.
All right.
Well, comprised of 2 brothers named Taylor and Justin Heltzer, along with an easily manipulated young woman named Dawn Godman, the Children of Thunder believed that Taylor Heltzer was not Jesus Christ himself, but rather the man who would usher in the second coming of their Lord and Savior.
His representative.
That's so nice. That's so humble of him. Unlike Rock Terrio, who really believes he was a god. He says, I'm just here. I'm just a messenger. I'm just the gateway.
And also, it's his lack of commitment that probably showed why they didn't succeed. Much unlike Rock Terrio, in his own way was successful, wasn't he?
In his own way.
By following a series of highly convoluted schemes fueled by meth and ecstasy, the Children of Thunder hoped to place Taylor at the head of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints by way of extortion, kidnapping, and murder.
And it's their ambition that makes them American. But I will say, that's what we were talking about, Marcus and I were talking about over text. Mormons are the closest that Americans get to Canadians. You know what I mean? Like the most ambition they had, though, was the idea is that they could flip the Mormon church from the outside, and it's apparently very difficult.
I think it is extremely difficult to overthrow an entire religion. Yes.
Yeah. Well, these schemes, which only got more complicated and stupid as the cult progressed, they had big signposts for each step, but no connective tissue between.
Okay.
And that, of course, killed each and every plan the Children of Thunder had before it even began. As Henry said, it blows up on the runway every time.
This is a cult that never got to take flight, which makes this a true crime story and not a cult story. So if you are
right?
keeping
Marcus
score,
was debating before the show, is this a cult story or a true crime story?
Somewhere between, it could be considered both, but I do agree with Henry that it's more of a true crime story.
a cult needs like, it just needs to be aloft for a bit.
A cult needs infrastructure.
How many times have I said this?
Herbalife. And also, I think at least 5 people. You have to be able to play a pickup game of basketball at any moment just to teach the kids how cool your cult is.
You need to be able to play tag with the neighborhood of kids with your cult.
Absolutely.
For it to count.
Well, to that point, the Children of Thunder was not a cult of just 3 people by design. Rather, Taylor Heltzer was sort of a wannabe Charles Manson. But while Manson was
Charles Manson didn't even want to be Charles Manson.
But while Manson was in L.A. hanging out with the Beach Boys and cutting demos with big-time producers, Taylor Heltzer was selling ecstasy at lame-ass late 90s raves near but not in San Francisco.
That's why, like, he gives me a lot of Taylor Heltzer gives me a lot of Paul Bernardo vibes because he is at that level of total corniness,
douchebagginess.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, Paul Bernardo was an elite predator in his own way. He was somebody that was truly dangerous.
I really
person.
thought you were going to say rapper. And then I was like,
no, that's Vanilla Ice.
That's true.
No, but Taylor Heltzer, I mean, he would cause enough mayhem on his own, but he just was not, he doesn't really have the X factor.
So he's the annoying guy at the 90s rave. No one wants to be there. Why is he here? He's got the drugs. That's it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. This lameness, among many other reasons, is why Taylor Heltzer just couldn't get his sex and drugs congregation off the ground.
Yeah.
See,
If you would have just called it that, it might have worked.
He was of the same lineage as Casey Anthony's roommate.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nightmare.
See, while Taylor was told repeatedly throughout childhood and adolescence by his mother and his Mormon spiritual leaders that he was destined for greatness on a prophet level, he was, in essence, a painfully average human being.
That is the ultimate success in Mormonism, is a total, complete, just soaking in of averageness. Where no one can even know you, they can't even see you.
If you are the greatest at being average, aren't you somewhat amazing?
I don't know.
Now, he was charismatic, to be sure, but he just didn't have the it factor that's needed to become a successful cult leader.
that noi.
What do you think it is? Is it it's big dick energy? I think we could say that.
Apparently he did have a big schlong, so that he was using it wrong.
But he didn't have the energy.
I believe, we'll get into this, I think what makes a true cult leader, like, actually effective is that at some point they have to believe their own garbage enough, but have a long view.
Yes.
They have to have a long view. LRH, obviously, he created, I was thinking about this last night. Yes, he created, blah, 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 it's a cult, Scientology cult, yes.
Sure.
But more, it's a world of IP that houses, it's a fantasy, like, role-playing game. It's a sci-fi universe that LRH created that rules that got inserted into. He had a long view. This guy was really just in it for, he thought that he could flip the Mormon church in like 2 weeks. And I don't think
Not gonna happen.
No.
And of course, it's also Scientology, a psychotic cult that preys upon failing actors, which aren't they the most vulnerable of all of us?
And the most dangerous.
Indeed.
Jim Jones. She truly did try to change Indiana from the inside out. Like he did. He had a long view. Even Charles Manson, I see that's why he is comparison
I don't think Charles Manson had a long view.
He did not know. But Charles Manson was better at getting pussy.
Yeah, and I think Charles Manson had a longer view than Taylor Heltzer because Charles Manson did have a plan, and his plan was achievable. And I think that's the big difference.
So
is that you got to have an achievable plan because remember, Charles Manson's whole plan was to get a whole bunch of groovy 60s chicks out into the desert so he could fuck them and have dune buggy races all day long.
And he got it. He lived the dream. And that's all he needed to do, Marcus. And I feel like that's a lesson all of you need to understand. 2 birds in the ass are worth 1 outside in the garage.
Absolutely. And if you just don't gut and kill people, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Everything is absolutely fine. This is the difference when your cult leader is full of acid
If you don't gut and
versus
kill
when your
people,
cult
you're
leader is full of
absolutely fine.
meth.
True.
Not a lot of long-term thinking.
No. Well, even though Taylor Heltzer did not have organizational skills, what he did have was a sociopathic personality. And he had just enough charm to ensnare exactly one ordinary person and his socially awkward brother, Justin.
Have you ever seen the show The Young Ones?
Yeah.
He's Neil. Justin is Neil. Like, we'll get deeper into what Justin's character was. But yes, he's the sad sack pacifist.
Yep.
Oh.
Now, Taylor and Justin's relationship, I think, could most closely be compared to that of Columbine shooters Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. To wit, it's highly doubtful that Justin Heltzer would have ever committed a violent act without the influence of his brother. Basically, Justin Heltzer was an extraordinarily awkward, super weird goth kid who had an odd obsession with juice and sometimes liked to eat meals on all fours like a dog.
Hold on a second. Are we talking about aliens? Did you say juice?
Juice.
Juice.
And not even OJ. Not the man
What
OJ.
type of juice?
Like mango or strawberry or
So
lemonade.
he based his personality upon the fructose corn syrup he liked to
He
consume.
was largely silent. He loved juice, and they said that you could not be in a room with him when he ate because he loved to eat with his entire face. And it is not an exaggeration when they said he used to get on all fours and eat off a plate like a dog.
Of course, we all know Holden McNeely, page 7, Round Table.
Yes.
We've seen disgusting men eat, but this sounds next level.
Oh, it really is. And under the spell of his brother, Taylor Heltzer became a brutal multiple murderer.
Talk about that story arc.
Yeah. And before we get into the story, let's acknowledge our sources for today. We've got Unholy Sacrifice by Robert Scott, as well as a highly entertaining episode of Wicked Attraction that aired a few years ago on ID Discovery, which is good for facts, even if it plays a little fast and loose with the timeline.
Yeah, I saw some other good documentary on it from England that was pretty good. But, again, that book really fills in all the blanks of just how dull all of these people truly are at their center.
Yeah, most true crime stories don't have a full chapter on juice.
Mango juice, apple juice,
Pineapple juice.
grape juice.
There's a lot of juices.
Now, Taylor Heltzer was born in 1970 to two devout Mormons named Jerry and Karma, both average people who worked as an insurance salesman and a housewife. You can't get more average than that. While Taylor was born in Michigan, his family soon relocated to the Bay Area in California, just north of San Francisco. In childhood, Taylor Heltzer could be compared to Jim Jones, and that both Jones and Heltzer could be considered religious and spiritual prodigies, because Taylor could memorize and recite scriptures from the Book of Mormon with ease from a young age.
I mean, they do say that recall is the basis sign of intelligence, but I guess it's good. Like,
But does he understand what he's saying?
Well, he was invested as a little kid. As soon as he got into Mormonism, like as soon as he was like doing the reading parts, he really loved it. And I actually can kind of understand as a child that was really into the Catholic Church and was impressed by the Catholic Church.
Well, there's a lot of fun stories.
Well, it's also it's the grandeur. It's the feeling of the presence of the man himself, the screaming, flayed God, like all the kind of shit. It feels really real.
You get robes,
and also
you get a whole series of other things.
And
that are
God's
illegal.
right there staring at you. And in a place like the Catholic Church or the Mormon Temple, you can feel it because they build it to be impressive, and it had an impression on him.
And I do want to point out there's no such thing as an average housewife or insurance salesman. Thank you for what you do.
Wow.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Great.
Fantastic.
Well, in addition, Taylor was bright, charismatic, empathetic, and helpful. Therefore, his magnetism, combined with his passion and understanding of Mormonism, caused both his mother and his local bishop to constantly tell him he was destined for great things in the church.
But again, when it's Mormon great things, it means you'll be in charge of the bake sale. You're going to be in charge of when we all wet ourselves later on today. You'll see a couple of secret ceremonies.
That's not fun. I don't want to be in charge of the dirty whites.
And it wasn't just them either. Everyone loved Taylor, and they constantly told him he was special. And in this, I think you've got the fatal flaw as to why Taylor failed so hard at being a cult leader. He skipped the steps.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't skip the steps.
Fucking yeah, Malcolm Gladwell's full of shit, but there's something to the idea that you gotta put in the work.
You do have to put the time in.
Where other infamous cult leaders like Jim Jones, Marshall Applewhite, and Charles Manson had to fight for attention to the point where their need for it was pathological, Taylor was heavily indulged and, more importantly, heavily sheltered.
Whoa. This is where we get to Dog Meat's scribe about participation trophies amongst cult leaders and how it's making them weak. We can't just give out awards. Oh, you've raped the most to a little boy.
You've killed the most people.
Well, I just say you gotta fucking earn it if you want to be on top.
Absolutely. Jim Jones is one of the most famous for a reason.
Yeah. Of course, infamous. Infamous. I'm not, because I'm not gonna go with the idea of like best cult leader, like my favorite cult leader.
No, the best cult leader is the president.
Yeah.
No, because there's a series of other people that
the best
aren't in
cult leader
prison.
is Joseph Smith. and L. Ron Hubbard. Those are the best.
You the two best?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
by far
absolutely.
the most successful.
Oh yeah, dude, hand in hand. LRH fucking died in his own bed. That's the most successful cult leader would be.
What about Pat Robertson? He's got a whole enterprise.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually work. He doesn't get people to worship him specifically.
Yeah,
he's a part of the system.
Yeah.
I've been doing it all wrong.
He's a middleman for God.
You guys don't have your Pat Robertson crucifix?
No, I have my
bring them
Pat
with you?
Robertson butt plug I've been
Oh
doing.
yeah, it's incredible. It's really good, right?
Well, Taylor's mother believed that her son was a prophet of God sent to help save the world. The boy could do no wrong. And because Karma believed in him so deeply, the rest of the family followed suit.
There also was a precedent amongst the family, because we'll get into it. But and Mormonism has that like caveat. It has the side thing. Basically, like if you dream it, you can be it. Like anybody can be a prophet within the Mormon world if you can figure out how to time your prophecy correctly.
It's great if you're trying to make a baseball team out of ghosts,
Very choppy
but
up
maybe
there.
it's not so
Nice
good when you
job.
want to kill 5 people.
Well, Taylor's brother Justin, meanwhile, was the exact opposite. Born 2 years later, looking almost exactly like his older brother, by the way.
But don't be.
A little bit. I don't know. You put their mugshots side by side, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
I thought they were identical twins for a little while.
But the other one definitely, Taylor is obviously, that's the problem though.
Yeah.
If you're kind of handsome and your brother is actually handsome, you look ugly.
Story of my life.
Well, Justin had not a single ounce of Taylor's charisma. In fact, the only thing people seem to remember about him during his formative years was that he was one of the tallest kids in class. Not even the tallest, just one of the tallest.
It's so sad.
That is like, what do you want on your high school yearbook? One of the tallest. I'm one of
the tallest. Well, his teacher also, that's the thing too, is like whenever a teacher praises a child for, he's like, you know, he always was in class and he was obedient. And I was like, oh, this is what we're going to be known for?
In other words, Justin was a born follower and was perfectly content to live in his brother's shadow. Justin spent his life looking towards Taylor for cues, and the two formed the sort of dominant submissive relationship the charismatic sociopaths like Taylor Heltzer so often exploit for their own personal gain.
Yeah, but you sure they're not stepbrothers? Because I've seen some footage.
You've been watching Step Brothers too? You leaped over to just watching all of it? Yeah, you just watch every form of step family sex?
I don't watch it.
You don't watch it?
I don't watch it.
Well, you talk about it a lot.
Yeah, you really do bring it up quite a bit.
Yeah,
No, I don't talk about it that much.
You've been talking the last month or two. You've mentioned a stepmom getting stuck in her dryer once per show.
And not just on this show, on live shows as well. You've been
I
bringing
actually
it up a lot.
I did misspeak about the girl that was stuck under her bed. They were roommates.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Now that you've looked at the document, we've put it amongst peer review.
Yes, I put it on Nexus Lexus and I figured it all out.
Well, as far as other influences went concerning Taylor Heltzer's upbringing, he and his brother lived for a time with their maternal grandfather, Doyle Sorensen. Showing exactly where his daughter's fundamentalist beliefs came from, Doyle believed that he, like Mormon prophets past, had actually spoken to Jesus in his front yard.
Yeah, what did Doyle say to him?
And when you believe, 6'1".
6'1".
Pretty
Isn't that
incredible.
something?
Pretty
Wow.
incredible. Just seeing right there. He was right there. He was standing right there. He brought his own car magazine. He just sits right there, and he's just like a normal guy hanging out.
Wow.
Now, this is beyond just a vision. Doyle went into full Moroni mode and believed that Jesus Christ had shown up in the flesh. Claimed that he looked out his window, Jesus was out there.
Hi. Hey, how you doing, buddy? I just heard about basketball. It's incredible what you guys made.
Yeah, it's a stand your ground state, so you're going to get off my lawn, Jesus. Thank you so much.
He said he just went outside and had an hours-long conversation with the man himself.
He didn't invite him in?
No, just went. Jesus didn't need to come in. He likes to
I
sit.
could fucking come in if I want to, bro. I'll fucking
Jesus.
kick down the door and do whatever. Walk through it, dude. I got nailed to a fucking stick, bro.
I know, dude.
I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
You please, God, do whatever you want.
Perhaps inspired by the confidence in which his grandfather talked about his own spiritual experiences, Taylor believed to have begun receiving messages from either God or the devil by the age of 14. He wasn't quite sure which.
Well,
And
you're going to want to figure that out.
Yeah. And since he was told by his mother and his spiritual leaders that he had the gift of revelation, he saw those messages as reality.
Well, he definitely learned from his grandfather that you can just say it.
And you can sell it.
And if you sell it, because that's really the key. The key is to never back down. I mean, like that, again, that's an American lesson. Just never show crap in the facade, and you can get through a lot of different hurdles in life. Like he basically, as a little boy, understood, I'm getting positive validation by saying random shit. And because you say all mysterious stuff, being like, I don't know if it was God or the devil, you get all of his attention. Everybody coming to discern, to look through, decipher your messages.
Sir, this is a McDonald's. Did you want the Big Mac meal or not?
Well, the devil's saying fries, but
Yes,
God
well,
is
just-
saying that stupid fruit cup. Fuck you, God.
Yes, go with the devil for the fries?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Now, to give you a quick refresher on Mormon revelation, Mormons believe that God speaks directly to certain members of the church and gives them so-called revelations concerning everything from personal decisions to the direction of the church at large.
That's what makes the Mormon church highly adaptable and moving forward into the future, because they understand it's the judo thing. Use other people's energies, pass them by you.
I've seen the
absorb.
Steven Seagal footage. I know.
Yeah, I mean, this is how they're able to constantly pivot throughout their existence in order to keep up with the times. That's what has allowed them to continue growing the most successful modern cult in existence.
I mean, I don't know
I'm
if
sorry, Henry, but Mormons are much more successful than Scientologists.
Hey, Scientology doesn't need the pressure.
Apparently, a lot of the people who follow Scientology are currently cracking at their cracking point, but I do love that the Mormon church has allowed the banana hammock. That's allowed now for the magic undies.
Oh.
Isn't that nice?
What?
Their banana hammock?
They no longer have to do like the boxer briefs. They can now keep it tight.
They're just cozy and nice.
What?
Yes.
That's nice. The
Banana
temple
hammock.
garments.
Oh, so you can make them like sexy now?
I think they're allowed to now.
Is that inherent? Am I doing the thing? Am I applying equality?
Yeah. Can you wear like one of those like Borat swimsuits?
You can do whatever you want as long as all of the men that are around you are aroused by the fact that they can almost see your penis.
Good.
Okay. Because I've seen some Mormon underwear, and it's actually pretty see-through. It's kind of fun.
It's long.
You've seen the Mormon underwear in certain documentary films.
Why would they lie to me?
Well, for an example of a Mormon church pivot, they didn't accept black people as people until the 70s, partly because early Mormon church leader and shit-obsessed weirdo Brigham Young helped legalize slavery in Utah, saying that black skin was the so-called mark of Cain placed on Cain's descendants by God. It's the same justification a lot of people use to justify slavery.
How many people did Brigham Young assault again? Like thousands upon thousands?
If you just qualify the way he led the church,
Yes.
straight up into the thousands.
Horrible person.
But in 1978, after white people had just enough time to get a little more comfortable with desegregation, church president Spencer Kimball declared that he'd had a revelation from God that it was finally time to end restrictions on black membership.
See, the thing is, I love basketball, and I just see where the tide is going, right? And so I just want to be able to follow my favorite team.
I just want to be able to baptize the Utah Jazz. It's true, because it also shows that there's a savviness there. There's we paint the Mormons as a bunch of plain goobers. There's a thing there where they understand if we want to survive, we have to move, and so we create a rule system that allows us to do that. But what does that do? Is that kind of like in our so-called democracy, whatever you call our government these days, the fact that you can have people that are truly good at their jobs be a part of the system, and then you can have people like Lauren Boebert that can also just get up in there, and she's just as valid as fucking anybody else.
Yeah.
It's a republic.
Now, the power of revelation could ostensibly be seen as somewhat of a good thing because it allows for progression, although one could also argue that the biggest reason is it allows for wider recruitment pools after their existing membership gets comfortable with something new. For this example, see the church's ever-softening stance on LGBT members. The LGBT, I guarantee you, gay people are going to be accepted in the Mormon church within 10 to 15 years.
It's
As soon as they get good at basketball.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Honestly, though, look at the Olympics. Half of them are the Olympic teams. Is that a good way? Did I just become Linda?
You became your mother, yes.
But in the hands of a dangerous psychopath like Taylor Heltzer, the so-called gift of revelation can be wildly perverted into the belief that one's thoughts, no matter how violent or immoral, come from God and are therefore fair game for execution.
And whether he believed it or not, he definitely used that validation for his crimes.
Yep.
So he acted on it. So that's justice. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, even though Taylor eventually tried starting a sex and drugs cult, he was astonished by the amount of drinking, sex, and swearing he encountered when he joined the National Guard at 17 in
Wait
the
a
year
second.
1987.
He couldn't handle the National Guard.
Well, he went and, he heard the cursing and he was like, oh, gingerberries. I can't believe what's happening here. They're saying F words and not forward. I thought I didn't even know that what they're saying. It rhymes with yuck.
Absolutely.
But apparently also what they would do is they would stick porn into his gun manual.
Actually, that's what they did that to his brother.
Oh, yeah. They stick naked ladies. They put naked ladies in his gun user's manual. And they'd be like, hey, Justin, do you want to tell me how I can switch the scope on the 348, whatever bullshit? And
Yeah, sure, no
open it,
problem.
and there would be boobies, and he'd have to cover his eyes going, oh, gingerberries.
Fix or repair daily.
Well, after failing to convince even what? Ford. Yeah,
Fix or repair daily.
daily.
I'm a Chevy guy.
I'm a Subaru boy.
Okay.
You're a Subaru lesbian.
Fantastic. I love it.
Well, after failing to convince even one of his fellow guardsmen that their behavior was ungodly, Taylor ended his service for country and entered service to God, heading to Brazil for his 2-year Mormon mission.
Oh,
Brazil.
that is actually a tough place to be with the temptation.
Well,
It's a hard place to be pious.
It's interesting because that was considered an elite get, right? To go down to Brazil, be a part of it. Because normally, they'll send you to fucking Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like, I saw
North
these
Dakota,
guys.
not one bit of temptation there.
No, but in Mormonism, so they've seen like Mormons in New York, like just covered in subway muck.
Yeah.
Like watch them just broken and stuff and be like, got you, bitch. You can't fucking handle the city, bro. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. We're like, but down in Brazil, you went there, you're foreign there. So you're kind of an object of mystery.
Sure. Absolutely.
In Brazil, even back then, it's an emerging market. A lot of fucking people live in Brazil.
Well, didn't Jim Jones spend some time there?
He did.
Okay.
He absolutely did. No, that Brazil was kind of what broke Jim Jones, because when he was gone down to Brazil, that's when he started getting super paranoid about people taking over his church back in Indianapolis. And after he came back from Brazil, that's when he became like Jim Jones.
I don't know if I would have come back to Indianapolis.
I would have just stayed
From
in Brazil.
Yeah.
Now, from Taylor's journal entries during those 2 years in Brazil, you can see that his delusions about the exceptionalism of his existence and his personal relationship with God were slowly but surely getting the better of him.
Honestly, I just thought pasties were a type of thing you could eat.
Yeah.
But apparently, they jiggle quite often.
Well, Taylor wrote that he couldn't disobey the slightest whispering of the capital S Spirit, which is an important distinction from calling it the Spirit. The Spirit is somewhat universal. It's reverential. It's detached. It's like how we might refer to the President.
The shithead president.
But to just call his connection to God Spirit, as if it's his close personal friend who whispers directly to him and only to him.
Right.
Taylor Heltzer was setting himself up as an island of reason in a sea of madness.
Well, he's the example of just screaming at the world, the jury is wrong!
The jury's wrong. Tell the jury they're wrong.
Every single time he had an idea, and then he'd go and say like, hey, this is my idea, and everybody around him would be like, you're wrong. He'd be like, no, you're wrong!
Oh, see, point counterpoint.
Now, once Taylor arrived in Brazil, his missionary brother found that while Taylor Heltzer was indeed charismatic, his obsession with the Book of Mormon and his spirit became so intense that Taylor began interpreting passages in unconventional ways.
Quote, unquote, unconventional.
Taylor, just go to the beach.
Yeah.
Just spend 5 hours at the beach. Please, God, there's more to this world than the Book of Mormon.
Specifically, Taylor Heltzer became obsessed with the titular latter days, the end of everything. He began to believe that technology would become useless in the last days, and the church leadership would coalesce into groups of warrior prophets who would defend the people and their faith against the armies of Satan.
They're not going to do very well.
It's fucking sweet, man. Honestly, I like his version of what would happen. Like, Mormonism has never been so metal as it's been inside of the brain of Taylor Heltzer.
If I was going to to take a cult to fight. First of all, there's only 3 people in this one, so they're going to lose.
Yeah.
I do think at its peak, Jim Jones's people probably could have gotten pretty savage.
There was a lot of old people. It was a lot of old people and a lot of young people.
So I
Yeah,
guess
a lot of
maybe
kids.
Manson. Proof is in the pudding.
I mean, Manson, they did actually kill him.
Yeah.
Well, in essence, the world that Taylor Heltzer predicted was a combination of Mad Max, the Book of Revelation, and the Book of Mormon, all set in a sort of Lord of the Rings environment where Satan plays Sauron, spreading evil through the Black Gate from the lands of Mordor. Whoa, cool. Well, Taylor, I suppose, takes on kind of a Frodo-type role.
I think he saw himself as an Aragorn.
And that is true.
Unfortunately.
Come on.
Yeah.
He did view himself as the ultimate warrior priest that would have a substantial amount of wives as well. That's also folded in. But, you know, it's a very immature view.
Aragorn only had Arwen.
Yeah, and that's whatever.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler was beautiful. She's hot, but they couldn't even fuck.
What do you mean they couldn't? What do you mean they couldn't fuck?
Didn't they only fuck the one time, and the rest they were all like talking through spirits. She'd play a flute or something, and then he
Did
just
you not
looked
watch
wistfully.
the series to the end?
You're in the middle of a rewatch, Marcus.
He's in a rewatch.
He's in a rewatch. So
I mean, I'm not going to spoil it for no one who's ever seen Lord of the Rings, but
It's a 20-year-old
yeah, they
movie.
fuck.
Yeah, it's like once.
No, it's not once.
Well, whatever.
They
It
get
could be more.
They get married. She becomes his queen.
They have sex with
Spoiler.
She gives up She gives up immortality and refuses to go to the shores beyond, so she can live a mortal life with Aragorn.
I'm just going to say this is it's a bit of a side quest, and it is surprising that they have sex with each other. They're not even related.
Not my marriage or otherwise. But I feel that the obsession with the end of days, because I remember when I was a kid, I was also morbid and I was also into everything horror.
Oh, you were morbid.
I know, it's strange.
Okay.
But I was into all of the end story, everything that was about the end of the world. I was hyper fascinated with.
Yeah.
It's an emotionally stunted view of the supposed Mormonism that you're attached to.
But, you know, we're all going to die, so in a way, the world goes with us, doesn't
Well,
it?
yeah,
And my
every
mother
time.
used to let me stay home from school because the world was going to end, so she would say, it doesn't matter, Benjamin, let's go to Piggly Wiggly.
It was a bad decision.
Yeah,
It was a great decision.
But in addition to his unorthodox reading of the Book of Mormon, Taylor also came upon the same conclusion that many Mormonism-inspired cult leaders come upon. See, as is evidenced by the concept of revelation, Mormonism is very much a make-em-up religion. Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, was by far the most successful religious con man of recent times, even more successful than L. Ron Hubbard.
You keep pointing at me. I don't owe him any money. I'm not a part of Scientology.
You avoided all that.
Well, Joseph Smith died before Mormonism really took off. His successors took Mormonism to the next level through constant reinterpretation.
It's a living document.
Yeah, it truly is. And the only reason why I keep pointing at you is because I kind of see L. Ron Hubbard and Joseph Smith as like the Oasis and Blur of like cult leaders, and like I'm more of a Blur guy because I'm a Joseph Smith guy, and you're more of an Oasis guy because you're into L. Ron Hubbard.
Well, I would flip it, bro, because Blur is not even it didn't even get to America.
What's that
Yeah, it
one?
did. Song 2 is still played at fucking sports games everywhere.
It was a parody of Nirvana. It wasn't even supposed to be that big of a hit. It happened accidentally to them.
That's true, but it still became a huge hit.
What's the name of that one band that had to kill themselves? That one lead singer had to kill himself because he stole that riff from that one more famous band?
What?
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Bittersweet Symphony?
Yeah,
Oh,
the dude
the
from the
Verve.
The
Verve.
Verve, yeah, someone else liked the Verve there. Y'all like the Verve. You guys are like the Verve.
I think the guy from The Verve is like The Verve.
Yeah, he's dead now.
But the problem with this make-em-up nature is that any old Joe can go back to the starting point of Joseph Smith and say that every interpretation of Mormonism after Joseph Smith's death has been wrong. But as it happens, that old Joe is just the revelation everyone needs to set the church back on the correct path.
Okay.
And most of the time, this just means going back to polygamy.
Yeah. Seriously. It's
9
always
times
about
out of
back
10.
to polygamy.
Yeah, 99 times out of 100, it's just going back. It's like, yeah, we should just all be having a bunch of wives and we go live in Mexico, you know, or in a trailer park somewhere.
Yeah, it's all about revisionists, and when they mean revisionist, they mean going all the way to the very beginning.
All right.
But every once in a while, a man with a murderous rather than a horny mind latches onto this idea, and disaster always follows.
We've seen this truly within the Mormon, of any specific group. I think it's interesting that it keeps happening within Mormonism.
Yeah.
Tiny little cults break off from the top,
Right.
and kill everybody. They kill everybody involved, they do a bunch of crimes, and then they quickly dissolve. Or somebody like Warren Jeffs,
Exactly.
they end up being in another whole like level of systemic abuse in that type of shit.
The worst of the worst. I just watched a documentary on YouTube on Warren Jeffs. I don't even know how I got there, but man, that guy's a demon.
Oh, yes. Killing.
He's worse than a demon.
Yeah, he really is. Now, during Taylor's mission in Brazil, he took his ideas to the mission president, who told him that those ideas were wrong.
Your ideas are wrong!
Oh, excuse me, what was that?
So Taylor began reading works by church leaders at a higher level. But when those writings didn't match his ideas either, he decided that either nobody knew what they were talking about, or they were all liars, hiding the truth.
Dump on a true detective.
That's like that guy with the Punisher mask on. He had a Punisher face mask on and a shirt that says this mask is as useless as Joe Biden, and he was at the desk, and the flight was delayed, and he was screaming, "That's because you won't tell us the truth!" And they were like,
We just gotta get on this plane.
It's just delayed. It's the cloud. I don't know what happened. They said there was something wrong with the fuel gauge.
See, the clouds have gotten hard, so we can't fly through them anymore.
However, at the same time, Taylor was also a phenomenal missionary.
Oh.
Despite his unorthodox beliefs, he got results when it came to recruitment, and he was again lauded as a spiritual leader.
Well, because the thing about him, as we'll discover, the thing about Taylor is that he had no guile or shame. He really could talk to anybody, and he was in Brazil, what was considered maybe very interesting. Let me know if that's incorrect, but the idea of being a tall, attractive white man outside of in another country, you're the foreign person now, and it's nice for people to see it. And he really got an experience. The Brazilian people actually seem to really like him, and he did set a bunch of records for recruits.
Oh, wow. Me and Carolina were talking about this the other night while we were watching 90 Day Fiancé the other way.
Oh, my goodness.
It does have some bearing on this, because I was kind of it's astounding sometimes the status that we have purely by just being American.
Sure.
And specifically just by being American and white.
It can get you kidnapped for ransom, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
But then again, that's about status as well.
But again,
or at least
remember,
perceived status.
We're not saying that this is from an American perspective, so we don't really fucking know in terms of how you look at it. I also feel there's just as much people who hate us for the exact same reasons. Of course. But it's also that thing where, if you are a Mormon, you're this little fresh-faced goober, you probably get it's more disarming for somebody like him at the time period, especially to have people react to him so positively.
Well, I know during the Bush years and probably the Trump years, whatever it might be, a lot of people would lie and say they're Canadian when they go overseas. But I never did it. I always say I'm American, and I deal with it.
Cowards.
Because there was a woman in Australia that actively hated us.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is. But you know what?
But
You fucking
Australia's
deal
more
with it.
America than America.
Oh,
They don't even know
man,
it.
crazy
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
Fuck them.
That's
It
part
really
of being
is.
an American. You got to fucking deal with it, man.
I know.
You got to fucking deal with it.
Absolutely.
When you combined Taylor Heltzer's success as a missionary with his disillusionment with the Mormon Church, what you got was a megalomaniac who believed that his way and therefore his beliefs were correct. Because after all, one of the biggest metrics of success in Mormonism is recruitment.
Right?
He's in it. That's the thing, is that we talk about with serial killers all the time. It's those little bits of validation, the little things that you do that kind of that give you that feed. And he saw it immediately, be like, I fucking gotta be right.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre they want to recruit, given their theory of heaven.
Mormons?
It's very finite, the amount of people that can get in.
You're thinking of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No, with Mormonism, everyone gets their own planet after they die, and the planets are infinite.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They're endlessly recruiting.
Yeah, no, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're the ones that say they only have 144,000 places in heaven.
Well,
do
all I
you
know
want to
is
be one?
Prince better be one. That's all I know. The greatest Jehovah's Witness of all time.
I'm going to go on and say, I don't think he was. I think that he should not have been in Jehovah's Witnesses, and he should have just lived a nicer life.
He loved it. He loved it.
A roast as dark as the night, perfect for fueling the cryptid research and mad ravings required for your podcasting. Don't mind the red eyes. He's just trying to warn you of the bridge. The bridge. Finally, from the caffeine-addled brains of Spring Hill Jack Coffee and Last Podcast on the Left, we bring you Mothman's Red Eye Blend. Yes, delicious Panama beans. Go to lastpodcastmerch.com to order yours today.
Now, once Taylor returned to California, he kept his belief that the end of days was coming, and they were coming rough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my.
Therefore, Taylor became a survivalist, which conveniently fit in with his near-fundamentalist family's belief system. A lot of people in the Heltzer family lived apocalyptically, which only fed into Taylor's belief in his own ideas.
I feel like it's another way to kind of live life in a fantasy world.
Yeah, of course.
That's what it is. It's you create this sense of stakes, like everything's going to be over soon, and everything matters so much more. You think because you think everything's life and death. Where
Yeah.
like, well, yes, everything is life and death. We do live and then die. It's this idea of living in constant fear of the end. I mean, I don't think what does it do for you?
Well, I mean, I think what it does is, I mean, it makes browsing on Amazon, an adventure, you know, like it makes going to the store a life or death situation where I am getting provisions to make sure my family does not die when the end days come, and they're coming any day now.
You're like, Campbell's is 5 for 9. It used to be 3 for 4.
End of days. Absolutely. Maybe he loved rehydrated food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I actually love astronaut ice cream.
It's really
I do
good.
too. I honestly like it too.
Is that Dippin' Dots?
No.
Remember
No,
Dippin'
it's
Dots?
when you it's when you pour whole milk into the asshole of a Russian and you drink it out with a spoon.
Nice.
Dippin' Dots or astronaut ice cream?
Astronaut ice cream.
Oh, I see. Astronauts. I get it. Dippin' Dots, the future of ice cream. They did not win the war.
No. Taylor also returned to California to find that his little brother Justin had copied his path by also going into the National Guard. And when Taylor came back preaching the apocalypse, Justin believed in that apocalypse.
Yeah, Taylor, you're right. That sounds great. Honestly, National Guard, they were crazy naughty over there.
I heard they swore quite a bit.
But together, the two brothers became obsessed with a right-wing survivalist named Bo Greitz, although it's spelled Grits with a Z.
Bo Grits.
Yeah.
Bo Grits. Interesting character.
But it's pronounced Bo Greitz.
Yeah, but I'm calling him Grits.
Because there's a future pun going that you're going to want to go with Greitz.
Okay.
Yeah. And Greitz, by the way, loosely inspired the character of Hannibal on the A-Team.
Oh yeah, there's also one thing I read said that he inspired Rambo as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Greitz was a former Green Beret who served in Vietnam and eventually ran for president in 1992 on the populist platform under the slogan God, Guns, and Greitz.
There it is.
There it is. Triple G.
And he supplemented his run with an isolationist political manifesto called the Bill of Greitz.
Oh, now that's what we've been waiting for.
That's the pun. That's the pun. It doesn't work with the Bill of Grits.
I mean, it doesn't work. To be honest, it doesn't work at all.
Honestly,
The Bill of
since
Greitz.
we spent so much time in this house last week, my grits bill was insane.
Oh, absolutely nuts.
Well, right around the same time as his presidential run, Greitz was also involved in the Ruby Ridge standoff. He was the guy who talked Randy Weaver into standing down.
Yeah, dude. He also organized his own re-invasion of Vietnam to search for POWs on his own time.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Soon after Ruby Ridge, Greitz began conducting a survivalist training program called Spike, or Specially Trained Individuals for Key Events.
Ooh, nice, Spike. I wonder if he came up with Spike first.
Yeah,
and then had to fill it out.
It sounds like he filled it out later, yeah.
Which sounds like a dick, but you can kill with it. It's not a dick. No, everybody argue with me. I know you can kill with a dick.
Now, not coincidentally, Bo Greitz had at one point also been a Mormon, but had removed himself from the membership rolls of the church after saying that the LDS was more controlled by the government than God.
I will not allow a law to be inside this house.
And dare I say, that's not Greitz.
Now that's a catchphrase. That's a funny catchphrase.
That's not Greitz.
Now, Greitz's exit from the church had more to do with his income tax return than actual orthodoxy. But from Bo Greitz, Taylor and Justin Heltzer took the phrase spiritual warrior, which began to wrap Taylor's belief system in violence. Not to be Bogreitz did not call for violence. He absolutely did not. I want to make that clear. But the phrase spiritual warrior, it definitely ding the violence bell in Taylor Heltzer's head.
Oh yeah, and
it's supposed to be kind of a
Bogreitz,
euphemism, I think.
he also
of course.
tried to commit suicide to get his wife back by shooting himself in the chest in a way that he knew wouldn't kill him, but would send a message to his wife because he wrote this whole long thing. It's an interesting story. He shot
Why are we
himself
just
in the
covering
chest.
Bogreitz?
I know. I want to cover Bogreitz at some point, but he shot himself in the chest, and everyone's like, yeah, if anybody knew how to commit suicide, it would be that man. That's how I know he didn't mean it. And then afterwards, Bogreitz was like, because I'll tell you what, every day I slept in the muck of Vietnam, I knew my angel was home waiting for me. And every day I wake up to fight the tyranny that is taxation in America, I would wake up and my wife would be there. That angel would be there when I woke up in the morning to comfort me. And now to think that I would not wake up with my beloved Beverly at my side.
That's not great. Did she come back to him?
No.
Well, speaking of marriage, around this time, Taylor Heltzer married a woman named Anne after he convinced her to convert to Mormonism. But the marriage unraveled so quickly that the couple went into counseling almost immediately after their honeymoon.
I would also say
You should not have to convince someone to change their entire orthodoxy just to get married to them.
Well, this is also just the kind of sad state of what it's like to. I mean, I feel for people who feel the need to get married so early, or like think that they have to do it, like
With
you have
the
or
church
you.
approval also.
Oh, not even with that. It's just like in general, like Anne and him had like 2 conversations in high school where she's like, he's handsome and nice. And then like he went and did all of this shit. He came back and then he's not, obviously Taylor's not a nice man. And so when they met back up, she struck it back up with him. She's like, oh, we should really get serious. And he's like, you're not a Mormon. You can't touch this dick.
Whoa.
Like, and because he had bought it, and so it was really kind of, I feel bad for her because she felt the need to have to be married
Yeah.
and get up with this dude immediately.
Generational thing also. A lot of people just get married so they can bone zone, but you can just do that.
Oh yeah, and just fucking gush on the hip. Just don't make it count.
Yeah, sure.
According to Anne, everything always had to be Taylor's way. Because Taylor was so goddamn special, it was ridiculous to think that his way might not be the correct way. And if you challenged him at all, he'd get angry and tell you that you just didn't get it.
Yeah, of course, it's totally normal to put ketchup on steak.
You don't get it.
Ketchup on steak.
I also think the idea of you just don't get it is I don't know what about that response makes me so fucking furious.
Unless it's like rocket science, in which case I will agree. I don't get it.
I don't get that, but that's different. But someone saying like, you don't get it. It's because you don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? It's just, it's real life. It's not the internet.
It's infuriating. Furthermore, out of his parents' house and on his own in America for the first time, Taylor was finding that the secular world was a hell of a lot more fun and interesting than the Mormon shelter he'd been raised under. From what it sounds like, it all began with television. See, Taylor had never been allowed to watch TV growing up, so when he moved in with Anne and got cable, he'd spend all night, every night, watching show after show, saying, quote,
There's so much great stuff on.
Okay.
He literally, the 24-hour news cycle. This is 1992?
93.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're before the 24-hour news cycle.
Oh, yeah.
That was 96.
He got so, I mean, I get it.
I mean, he's not just watching cable news, he's watching all the cable.
Time Life, a lot of Time Life commercials.
If you showed Benjamin Franklin MTV's The Grind before he wrote the Constitution of America, like, honestly, I think this country would be different.
You can just see the dust coming off of his crotch as he gets hard for the first time.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Benjamin Franklin fucked all the time until the day he died. No one in this country fucked as much as Benjamin Franklin.
He would have been turkey. It should be the turkey.
At the fucking spring break house. He would have been there, the only guy with no hair in the front and a ponytail in the back,
Yeah, they call me
with the tiny
Benjamin
glasses.
Yeah, they really did, man. Like, when he used to go over to France, like, everyone got super excited because they knew, like, the good orgies were about to begin.
Yes.
On Top Hat this week, we talk about Madison Cawthorn saying that he was invited to some orgies in Washington, and he was none too pleased with it.
Yeah, I bet.
Orgies with Chuck Grassley.
Yeah, .org.
Well, from there, Taylor embarked on a kind of second adolescence, stopping off at arcades after work for hours
Look
at a
at all the
time.
machines! Look at all the machines! And he used to run around. Truly, she used to have to literally have to physically pull him out of the arcade because he was stuck
like
on the
an
machine.
alien.
Yeah. Yes, it's like Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah. He also discovered pornography and tried to get his wife to try every single thing he saw in the videotapes and magazines he picked up.
I think it's interesting when you see people talk about this, because this is a Mormon lens.
Yeah.
So everything you're looking at is through every various Mormon point of view. So this woman, when the way she described it, she was like, and the things he wanted me to do, I saw some of the footage of it, and it was absolutely reprehensible. And you know the only thing she's talking about is the butt.
Yeah, it's just anal.
It's all
butt. Yeah.
like that is the only.
That's
and
the
always
worst that it got.
Unspeakable acts I cannot believe. It was like, no, it's pornography you could have bought off a stand. It's butt.
Frozen dildos. I don't know if you remember those. Fire and Ice. There was a Penthouse centerfold that I'll never forget. Fire and Ice, and I believe they had frozen dildos. So perhaps he wanted to do.
Oh yeah, and there's some
one of
pee-pee
those.
play. I saw some Nugget magazine.
Nugget.
Yeah, Nugget.
Yeah. It's always the one in the middle of the 3-pack that you steal from the store.
Yeah, I always remember in one of those I got a Club Confidential that had this whole like pregnant woman breast milk spread.
See, but
that
I
was
thought it was
real weird.
I thought it was confidential, but that seems it's the opposite of confidential.
Marcus is gonna get sued.
But even though Taylor was living the 13-year-old's dream of unlimited cable, arcades, and porn, he still managed to get a job at Morgan Stanley as a stockbroker through his wife's uncle in 1993.
If you've learned nothing from Wolf of Wall Street, you need to understand that stockbrokers are not special.
No.
Anybody can be one.
Yeah. See, even though Taylor had wacky religious beliefs, he was still a sociopath who could turn on his shallow charm whenever he wanted, and he was therefore one hell of a salesman. He actually enjoyed cold calling customers, which personally, I think you gotta be a sociopath to enjoy cold calling.
Well, hey,
It's
listen,
a nightmare.
honestly, my favorite hobby, hassling people. It's
Love it.
my favorite.
You can just see him trying to bond with people in Wall Street, just slipping them Nugget magazine under the table. Like,
Have you heard of pornography?
Have you heard of this? Have you heard of video games?
Justin Heltzer, meanwhile, had an uneventful run in the National Guard and went on an uneventful 2-year mission. And without his brother's charisma, he got a job installing cable TV.
He is truly a pool noodle of a human being. He is, I'm going to
worse
insult
than
him.
that. A pool noodle is at least fun.
Yeah, you have a function on it. Sometimes it slides between a woman's legs. But
don't
Justin
forget how-
Helzer is a fucking useless human being.
Whoa,
He's a
guys,
puddle.
are we kidding here? He installs cable. He's an American hero.
I guess he
That was back in the day. That was a tough gig.
I know, but the thing about them is like I love our cable installers. If we have anybody who listens, cable installer, I know,
don't know if they're needed
but
anymore.
They're not really. But the thing is that their moral compass was always off because you could give a cable guy $100 and he'll do whatever you want. Like he will just give you, he will fix it all up. You get the free pay-per-view and shit. They're very easily bribable.
Yeah. Well, you're also talking from like a 1992 perspective.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
But that's why I'm in here now.
Yeah, you're in there, man.
No, I tried to offer we did have cable put it in the house, and I did, because it's like, what do you get?
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, now it's all corporate or whatever, man.
Yeah,
Fuck
you
that
can't.
shit.
You can't do it, and they don't want to get fired because they're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's
Yeah.
really hard out there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Now, Taylor branched out into the more salacious and adult corners of the secular world after 3 years working at Morgan Stanley. And the whole time, 3 years, he's keeping his vices to TV, porn, and arcades.
Do we not know if this is just the plot to Big?
Yeah.
It really sounds like
Became
that
real.
woman had sex with a 13-year-old boy, and at some point she does need to be brought to justice.
Yeah. And at the end of it, even after she knew that she had sex with a 13-year-old boy, she still had this winsome look on her face.
You think so
Like
different?
it wasn't horror,
Well,
like
it's because-
absolute abject horror that it should have been.
It's because the 13-year-old boy had the dick of a man.
He did. He really did. The dick of Tom Hanks.
Well, in addition to all that, according to his wife, Taylor also began dressing like a 15-year-old. And speaking as someone who was almost 15 in 1997, it was not a good look.
Well, let's not diss the Jinko.
I will put it this way. I don't know if it's like specifically like a 15-year-old, because I know I have reached an era where I am dressing however I want, because I never got to as a little kid.
You're
I never got to
forgetting,
buy the
though,
sneakers.
you don't have a conch shell necklace.
Yeah.
I don't.
That was needed.
You don't have frosted tips.
Don't have frosted
but
tips.
again, this is a Mormon perspective. So I think when she says that he's dressed as a 15-year-old, it's because he's not wearing he's not a businessman. He doesn't wear his suit to go to work, and he doesn't do all all the shit. It's like he's wearing like T-shirts that say like Billabong on
Yeah,
it.
he's shopping at PacSun.
Yeah.
Now.
He's probably got some WWF gear, Blood from a Stone. It's a really cool Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt. I had like 50 fucking wrestling shirts, dude.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I mean, no one thought it was cool, but
Yeah,
you did.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, I thought my Stone Cold shirt was kind of cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah, man, I had my fucking No Fear shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those Big Johnson shirts.
Yeah,
we
those
were
were
going to
loud.
get you in trouble.
Yeah, we had bear piss beer. Those were fun. Those were fun. Well, leaving behind Anne and the 2 children they had together, Taylor left his home for weeks at a time and started smoking, drinking, and going out to nightclubs, where he experimented with weed, cocaine, and shrooms. But considering how this was 1997 and Taylor was also discovering the rave scene, his main drug for a time was ecstasy.
What brought you here? Well, I started with Street Fighter. Then I played Street Fighter 2. Next thing you know, man, I'm just here at this rave selling you drugs.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
That's the best story I've ever heard.
Isn't that weird?
But the thing is if you remember college, because I know I was like that, because I didn't really do...
That's a tricky question.
I did not do a lot of substances throughout high school, right? Like I smoked a little bit of weed, but I didn't really start hard drinking and smoking until I hit 18 and I went into college. And I really think that those first moments of foraying into substances, you know who that guy is.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, hey man, have you tried shitting on weed? You know, like that bullshit from Half-Baked where it's all like a guy who became his entire personality was ecstasy. And what does that mean?
Right back.
You are an insufferable human being.
I would almost say you're by definition a psychic vampire. Because these people on ecstasy, they want to be happy, but they have to steal your joy to do it.
Yeah. Now, as Taylor began to see just how much fun the adult non-Mormon world could be, he conveniently also began to believe that he'd been betrayed by the church. His mission had been a bust, and his marriage was a bust. So therefore, Taylor didn't feel like he had a true place in the LDS.
This is all from like the first taste of a non-Mormon life.
Well,
You know
I
what
mean, he'd been at it in like 3 years.
But seriously, he escalated in those 3 years. Like, it's just kind of interesting because he barely paid attention to his marriage and his kids and all that kind of shit.
Some fucking kid like slips him a joint at the arcade, and it's all fucking over from there.
It's like what the Dare people thought would happen.
It's reefer madness.
I mean, I think that's what it is that really that only happens with super sheltered kids.
Yeah.
It really does. If you have parents that like raise you like a normal person, then you know it's not that bad.
This
But super
is
sheltered
why
kids really do fall down the
You have to, be dirty as a kid, build up the immune system.
Yeah, do
and then
all
if
the
you're
butt
a parent,
stuff.
start
Roll around, suck dick, snowball, anything, especially when you're a kid. Get out of your system, man.
Well, I don't know about that, but I was going to say give your children small amounts of booze young, but that was also a bad idea.
The French do it. It's fine.
What's that?
The French do it. They get the kids wine.
Yeah, the French have some issues.
And in Italy, it's legal to smoke when you're 9.
Is that right? Mandatory even.
Yes.
But I think the biggest reason why Taylor rebelled against the LDS and his marriage was because his life was turning out to be extremely ordinary. See, he'd been told for his entire existence by both his family and the church that he was destined for greatness. Instead, all he had was a regular-ass office job, a regular-ass wife, and 2 regular-ass screaming kids.
I'm supposed to have my own planet.
Where's the planet? I mean,
He's not waiting until death for that fucking planet.
Oh, he wants it now.
Yeah.
That's nice. I mean, I guess I'm happy that my parents were just like, I hope he gets a job as a manager at Burger King. Like, that's kind of nice to have lowered expectations, too.
Yeah.
Well, I really feel like
pressure, I guess.
if it's not put on you, the pressure's not put on you, then good. But, it's nice, a little ambition's nice.
Yeah, a little
of
ambition is
course,
nice,
but
yeah.
it's internal. You have to have it yourself.
But ironically, speaking to the ordinary point, even though the Bay Area club scene in the late 90s might have seemed exotic and exciting to a former Mormon like Taylor Heltzer, it was ultimately just as ordinary as his own life. There's nothing special
Autopilot
about
really
doing
fucked that
X
one
and
up,
dancing to Moby.
Yeah,
No,
it just
it
takes
gets-
sometimes a couple of years to understand that.
Yeah.
Because for a while you're like, this is the best time I've ever had in my life. Like,
We're
you're
doing
that. And then it's just you know what it is? It's a couple of years of waking up, like leaving a place at 6 a.m. And you come out to the light, and then you go onto the subway and you see like teachers or construction workers, and you're like a big
my
old ass,
altitude?
and you're feeling worse and
I kept
worse
the
and worse,
altitude.
and like
It did
No one's
not,
digging
however.
you. Like, Taylor was not, it's not like he was a party promoter. Like, he
Fuck's the
wasn't
point
at the
of
center
autopilot?
of the
It's not gonna
action of
pilot
Limelight.
auto.
You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't at Studio 54. He's in the worst place in the world.
No, mine wasn't X. Mine was that same situation. It was cocaine, and it was coming out of Home Sweet Home in the Lower East Side. At 6 in the morning, and
I
it's
always
not
kind of like
fun.
seeing people go to work because then I know I don't have to. And then I'm going to bed. Bye.
A lot of times it was because I had to wake up and then go do some type of work. It just
That
wasn't
was
that
always
work.
horrible.
But just as Taylor fell into the world of drinking and recreational drugs, so too did his brother Justin, and both began doing both on the regular. This, however, wasn't what truly scrambled the brains of the Helter brothers. That could be placed squarely on the shoulders of a self-help course big with Mormons called Harmony, which sent both brothers down a destructive path of amorality.
I would not necessarily even say in any other type of show that we've done that like this one thing was what really shot him down the pipe, but it really was.
Is this like there's a show on CNBC, not to plug. It's called Business Boot Camp.
Yeah, please
and
don't
I
plug.
watched it, and it sucks. And all they do is scream at you, and they're like, "This is going to make your business better," but it's not.
Well,
it's just there to watch. It's just there so I can watch you suffer. Is that kind of what this is?
Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
Harmony was a ripoff of another self-help program called Impact, and it therefore shared many of the same basic beliefs and techniques.
And they're all a ripoff of a thing called EST, which is run by Werner Erhard, and it's the same thing. We cover this. Randy Kraft was a part of the original group of people. It's weird how those synchronicities show up,
Weird,
right?
yeah.
Because the EST training is exactly the same as Impact and Harmony. They all stole from each other, and nothing really in the end helped anybody.
No.
Okay.
Now, it's hard to find concrete information about Impact because, quite tellingly, the founders of the program have gone to great lengths to actively expunge any information on the internet that portrays them in a negative light.
Just tell them we're part of Nexium.
But when you look at the testimonies on ex-Mormon message boards, you can see that Impact is somewhat of a combination of the business practices of Scientology and a light version of the MK Ultra technique known as psychic driving. Concerning the former, Impact was a spin-off of Lifespring, which stemmed from Landmark Forum, which came from Mind Dynamics, which is, of course, a component of Scientology.
Money laundering.
It's
right.
interesting
All right,
because,
no
as
more
we've
autopilot.
said, there are certain things in the
Piss me off.
lower aspects of Scientology that can be helpful.
As you've said.
But I have read an article. I was reading this massive, it was about from the behaviorist perspective about the idea of breaking down what EST is, EST training is, but, like kind of get in mind of like, because I want to know, like when we did the Scientology series, what exactly is the shit that they're talking about? What happens when you go to Harmony training?
Right.
And a part of what they do is, it's a roast battle version of a Joel Osteen show, where you write like a testimony about who you are, and then you go into a room,
Right.
and then they take the information you gave you and they break you down
Destroy
using
you.
what they gave you.
Do they build
exactly
you back
what
up?
they did to Ted Kaczynski. That was the fucking experiment that broke. Ted Kaczynski was doing exactly that.
But they don't. But then you have to do the build-up part.
There's
'Cause
a build-up
otherwise you
part.
just
No,
leave a
but we'll
crumbled
get to the
up-
build-up part. That's what makes it similar to psychic driving, and what
Got
makes
you,
it similar
okay.
to an MK Ultra thing, of course, because the Ted Kaczynski thing was related to MK Ultra. It all
Right.
comes back to MK Ultra.
And also, a lot of this was stolen from the tactics of Werner Erhard, who LRH, he was so offended by
yeah.
S training that he sued.
He sued him?
He sued him for theft of intellectual property. Yeah.
In addition, Impact's tiered, highly expensive system of escalating programs mirrors the business model pioneered so many years before by L. Ron Hubbard. Starting at level 1 with what's called Quest training, currently available for the low price of $725.
What?
Impact starts with a 4-day retreat covering such vague concepts as relationship skills, accountability, and leadership. In reality, though, the Quest training within Impact was a highly abrasive, confrontational experience that supposedly broke down old beliefs. In these sessions, which started at 6 a.m. every day, a facilitator aggressively asks deeply personal questions, then insults the participant until they sometimes either cried or vomited.
They're supposed to sit in a chair, not move. There's supposed to be a bathroom break every 4 hours and let them out, right? And then they can go. The whole idea, Marcus and Kissel, what you guys don't get, is that it's all about, can you even sit with yourself for a goddamn minute?
Yeah, I mean,
Can
I
you
was
even-
on a plane over
Yeah,
here
sure.
for 6 hours to get here.
Yeah, what you're doing, man? Oh, yeah, that's your act bro. You're playing into your act. It's your act. You show up to Kissel, the bumbling, beloved simpleton. This man covered in grime and beer flex. That's just the act. That's not you,
well, that's nice that you actually said that, but I mean, that's not even my act.
But you're lying to everyone because actually that is you, but your actual portrayal. Yeah, bitch.
Well, for example, as far as like them asking questions and completely breaking them down, one woman admitted to being sexually abused by her fathers and brothers. The facilitator called her a slut.
Oh my God.
That's just the first day.
Jesus.
That's just what they're trying to do. Come on, it's day
horrible.
one. You gotta warm me up.
$750, huh? Man.
$775.
Oh my goodness.
Back then, in the early 90s, it was like $325. So inflation has definitely caught up to Harmony.
Well, by today's standards, pump number 9, that's about $2,500.
3 weeks going on.
That's pump number 9.
But on the third day, after the participants are broken down, the facilitator switches to a more loving tone, just like they did with psychic driving, manipulating people into thinking that some good had actually been done.
Well, this is where they kind of get off, and it's cool because it's technically a limited time period that you're spending getting abused. Where Scientology, it's a whole lifetime that you're signing up for, and they keep moving the goalposts of what you have shown that you have been effectively trained, and then you have learned and you have grown. Where this is, at least it's one and done in a weekend, but a lot of people's lives are literally shattered by the weekend.
Yeah, what usually happens, they just stayed broken. But the thing about that is that they became convinced that they could only be made right again through the higher levels, which only got more and more expensive.
It's horrible.
Welcome to the Zabrowski Thought Clinic. I can't wait to have everybody aboard. We're going to be doing this. Toot toot. Everybody get aboard the Thought Clinic. Train, bus, ship. Because what I'm going to do is get your thoughts and turn them into oughts. Because it's about what you ought to do, not what you thought you should do.
I love it. I don't know what it was about the weekend, but I really think sketch comedy has potential. And I feel like overall, the Polish are one of the funnier people.
Honestly, that clinic really showed me a lot of Henry's impressions are not as problematic as I thought they were.
As far as what sorts of manipulative activities these people participated in, they'd sometimes play a game in which you and 3 other people all had to pretend that you're all in a ship that's gonna sink. And one of you were given 3 popsicle sticks, and whoever got those sticks would be saved, while the others would be left to die. And to make it even more disturbing, the popsicle stick captain could also choose to keep one for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Each person had to make an argument as to why they should live and the others should die. And by the way, this happens after you know everybody's deepest, darkest secrets. And more often than not, the popsicle stick captain kept one for themselves, regardless of the arguments made by their imaginary shipmates.
Because that's real dog meat, and that's what you don't fucking get. Yeah, I'm standing up. Because it's fucking real.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, because it's about what is, and what ain't. And that's
Thank you,
deep
Bill
in the
Clinton.
research.
I just want to be the person who eats all the popsicles.
Yeah, I guess you do gotta get the popsicles, don't
You do have to have a little fun with it. Pamela, you don't get one because you're a bitch. Bob, you're a fucking bitch, so you don't get one. Jerry, bitch, you don't get one.
Perfect.
Live from Northland.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Ben Kissel here with Henry Zabrowski.
Yeah, it's me, man.
Yeah, bro. Henry Zabrowski is smoking some of that sweet last podcast on the left, babe. Go out there and purchase yourself some. I hope you enjoy it. We have sativa, we have indica, and we have a hybrid. And I have to tell you, from my personal experience, they are wonderful.
Super tasty live resin. You really get the delicious weedy taste, which is what I like. And
Yes.
3 different experiences. You go to your local vape store and get it.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We absolutely love you. Can't wait to see you on the road. And get that vape, put it in your brain, and have a good time.
And if you want us at your favorite weed store, give them a call and ask for them by name. Last podcast on the left, it's weed.
Hail yourselves, everyone.
Hail Satan.
Now, while some people have said that impact training destroyed them emotionally or led family members to destroy their lives in the pursuit of its promised results, others, like Taylor and Justin's mother, Karma, loved it.
Yep.
After starting with Impact, she switched to the rip-off program, Harmony, and brought her sons into the fold. And with Impact, Taylor Heltzer found both a cult leader roadmap and the justification he needed to bring his darkest sociopathic urges to light.
It's much like any other thought system. right? There are things that you could learn and like a rational person.
Take an improv class.
Truly, we're an
There are some
elevated
good
person.
skills that you can learn.
But you can pick and choose and understand that, like, oh, some of these teachings are allegorical. I'm supposed to learn by example and take this with me, and it's maybe it's a life lesson that I'm supposed to play out over time. A lot of times, these things are not supposed to be taken like word for word, literally, like, because if you do, it ends up, you end up Hitler. Like, it's that type of shit where it's like you can't just buy into some kind of esoteric system wholeheartedly. You have to kind of, it's about reflecting. More people should read the Kabbalah.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, Impact and Harmony had a belief system close to the objectivism of Ayn Rand, in which the only thing that matters is the self. Additionally, these programs stress that the concepts of right and wrong do not exist, or at least don't matter.
I mean, they do it when you're driving, you want to get to a place.
Well, yes, that's the idea.
But what really matters
Must
is
be
if something
Botch's
works
landing like I
or
did
it
the
doesn't.
last one.
There's no right, there's no wrong.
Well,
It's
like 4
does it
hours
work
just
or does it
fucking
not?
fuck up
And
the
I am
landing.
not going to speak well of objectivism in any way, shape, or form, but the way I will compare it to is, because Est is kind of like what I said before, it's weaponized Zen Buddhism. Like, it's this idea of destruction of the ego version of yourself, what you portray, the idea that what you think and believe are not you, that they actually have no bearing on what reality is. So there's an objective reality at the very bottom of it that is us as individual souls floating around in goop, but that type of shit, right? And it's all about trying to get to that, get to the real. And the thing is,
why would I want to do that?
I don't know. I don't know, because I like my thoughts. I'm kind of consumed by my thoughts. Maybe that's a problem.
Yeah.
But again,
I want to get to the opposite of that.
I like the opposite.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's interesting because that sentence is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about not judging your judgments on a feeling that you have. That it's all about, like, kind of lessening how hard you are on yourself for having conditioned responses to your own responses, right? Like being mad about feeling guilty, feeling mad about being sad, like those types of things. But he did it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, while other people saw Impact as something in which they participated, Taylor Heltzer saw it as an instruction manual on how to manipulate people.
And it is.
Yeah, you break them down, you humiliate them, and you build them into something else that you can use. And it's with this belief that right and wrong did not exist that Taylor Heltzer began to try and build a cult, using his brother Justin as his first disciple.
But I tell you what, Taylor, that sounds like a lot of fun, Taylor.
It's just Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm just having a good time, Taylor.
The second member, or at least the attempted second, was a highly attractive waitress named Carrie Furman. In 1998, Carrie was working as a server at the Peppermill restaurant in Concord, California.
She used to work in a diner. Never saw a woman look fine. Remember that song?
No.
Neil Young?
No.
She used to work in a diner, never saw anyone look finer?
No.
What's the name of the song? Can you name it?
Wendy's. I don't know the name of it.
Wow, we're just deep into. I don't know if this is Uncle Corner. This is like great Uncle Corner.
What? I just don't know that song. Somebody knows it out there.
Not bad.
Oh yeah, someone's yelling.
It's Harvest or something like that?
No. In the Peppermill restaurant in Concord, California, Taylor Heltzer came in and chatted Carrie up. Carrie thought he was handsome and charming, so when Taylor left a credit card instead of a tip, leaving a note, buy yourself something nice.
Oh my God.
She was intrigued.
It's so douchey.
It's obvious he doesn't have that much money on it.
But also, it's just the thing that, like, beautiful woman, things happen to her, and sometimes she's just like, thank you.
Buy yourself something nice.
Well, she admits that at this point she was a low point in her self-esteem.
Sure.
You know, and Taylor took full advantage of that. He completely abandoned his wife and kids and manipulated Carrie into moving in with him faster than you could say Charles Manson.
Charles Manson.
Wow.
That fast.
And they're together now? Wow. I don't think it asked her to go so fast.
Well, soon, the two of them moved into a rented house with two roommates named Olivia and Brandon, along with Taylor's brother, Justin.
Just like the dream you told me all about with your
really
brother
was.
and two roommates. This is great.
Oh yeah, and they get to share a room with the brother.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for the credit card.
Now, from what Carrie said, Taylor was very loving and made her feel special, and he had that effect on a lot of people. He was very manipulative.
And Rotisserie Tuesdays, it had a double meaning.
But soon after, no, he just watched.
Yeah, he did just watch.
He did just watch. Yeah,
Right,
at his brother's request. By the way.
like, Taser, you're going down on her. I'm like, oh, that's lunch. I wish I could share.
Oh my! A lunch you wish you could share.
Let me get some of that. You have some. Oh no! I made a phantom. I made a little ghost patch.
Yes, that's a Dracula.
But soon after.
Oh God.
Ghost patch. But soon after abandoning his family, Taylor began to believe that he was destined for greater things. And great men don't have office jobs.
Hey, man, don't gotta look at me, bro. Can't get me back into an office unless I'm seeking my revenge.
Very abstract.
So, embarking on his first of many schemes, Taylor began the process of scamming Morgan Stanley into giving him disability payments by faking mental illness.
And it worked.
He went days without shaving or showering and babbled about wild ideas openly in the office.
Listen. When we get rid of trains, right? Fucking get rid of cabs.
You're gonna get rid of trains.
Hey, man, hey. Helicopters.
You know what, man? They went with that shit. You know there's an Uber helicopter service in fucking New York right now that you can take a fucking helicopter from your office building to LaGuardia and JFK.
I'm not doing it unless it's Gallagher's.
I have to start writing things down. Oh yeah, that was Gallagher.
Gallagher's idea.
Carrie Furman, meanwhile, played the part of the concerned girlfriend trying to save her partner from the throes of mental illness. And sure enough, it worked. And Taylor was soon living on the easy street of fraudulent disability payments.
That's sad, man. The easy street of disability payments.
Once Taylor convinced Carrie to help him out with this scheme, he talked her into taking the same Harmony Impact courses that he'd taken. And since she was, by her own admission, highly suggestive and vulnerable, she felt like she got a lot out of it. Now, in the house where Taylor, Carrie, Justin, and the two other roommates lived, Taylor began ruling the place as an authoritarian, copying what he'd learned from the Impact Harmony training.
Oh, God, what an annoying prick.
Oh, yeah, and he also refused to pay rent.
Oh, yeah, because he was in charge.
God.
I'm the conductor. Okay, you see the conductor paying for violins? You think the conductor, he's got to fucking rent his baton? But no, and it's a tiny room. And it was like, I just think about just how stupid this beginning is. Because the other two roommates were not involved.
No.
Like, they were just normal-ass roommates, just being like, yeah, I see you got the mini cult going on here. You guys can leave my mac and cheese alone. I'm going to put my initials on it, just so you do that. Also, if somebody, the manager wants to know about the garbage disposal, somebody called about the garbage disposal. Meanwhile, he's like, I am a child of light. You're like, all right.
Well, just leave the mac and cheese alone. We're fine.
Well, eventually, Taylor convinced the quite attractive Carrie to pose for nude pictures to try to get her a spread in Playboy. I don't know what his end game with it. Either he was trying to see what he could convince her to do, or he was just trying to make some quick money.
He kind of did the thing of, what was it from Step Brothers, where the group they had, it was like Events Worldwide, or like, I forgot what their thing is.
Yeah.
This is his beginnings of wanting to create a hyper elite escort service.
Yeah.
And so he thought that when that was like, we'll get into it, but he definitely used her, he thought that like, see, we got a Playboy model on the roster, and he's gonna bump up all of our shit. And then Justin's like, yeah, I'm be amazing. We need honestly maybe a couple big hung guys, right? Couple big hung guys.
That's Carl Hungus. Yep. So this was also probably for his own status, right?
Yeah,
so he could be married to or dating a Playboy model.
Something like that. I mean, he borrowed $2,500 from his father for new boobs for Carrie. Probably never paid it back either. But quite shockingly, Carrie got in.
Very good.
She was a Playboy playmate. Had one of those like classic, like huge fake tits, soft focus, like belt and garters, 90s Playboy spreads.
You're talking about Sable from the WWE.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Sable's spread was a little more in focus than the 90s Playboy really was most of the time. The Playmates always had a soft focus.
I think my eyes crossed pretty hard.
But I mean, it's hard focus. Like, you got to see every single inch of Sable in that spread.
Yeah, look at the look on your face. You're like an umpire.
I spent a lot of time with that issue.
But it is, she did make it. I would put her on there as, maybe this is controversial to say, but probably most attractive cult member of all time.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. Yeah, without a doubt.
I kind of like the Manson girls.
Oh, sure.
No, I mean,
I want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, conventionally attractive.
True.
Yeah. Definitely the only Playboy model to be in a cult that we know of.
That we know of.
Yeah. Well, there's probably
I
a lot of
thought the people-
Scientologist Playboy models.
There might
now that I think.
I think there's a lot. Yeah.
Going off this, Taylor pushed Carrie further into the world of sex work, convincing her to dance nude in the strip clubs of San Francisco while also acting as a backroom pimp who set Carrie up with oral sex gigs. Now, in true pimp form, Taylor kept most of the money Carrie earned from sex work, saying that he needed it to invest money in a program of his own making that was going to be similar to Harmony. Instead, he invested that money into what was basically an escort service called Into Me See.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I hate it. I really hate it.
Can you say it again?
Into Me See.
But hey, Gissel, if you say it fast, it sounds like intimacy.
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 Which is
Into Me See.
This is so gross, man.
About getting hand jobs.
I get it. Yeah.
Taylor Heltzer soon took on the pseudonym of Jordan Taylor and printed Into Me See business cards that asked potential clients if they wanted better relationships, better sex, and more joy in their lives.
If it's with you, Taylor.
And a hand job.
Well, to further finance the venture, Taylor became an ecstasy dealer at the local raves and tried forcing his brother to do the same. But this seems to be the only time Justin ever split from his brother, because while Taylor was a rave guy, Justin liked the goth clubs.
Okay, rave versus goth. This is how can they stay together?
There's not that much difference.
Maybe I'm
There's a
wrong.
little difference.
Email sidestorieslpotl@gmail.com. When I have met goths, they're normally not like simple. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Justin was a simple goth.
I don't know if Justin was as simple as you're making him out.
I think
I don't know if he was. I think he was just a very submissive human being.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving him like goth points.
I think you're giving him goth.
Yeah,
sure.
but yeah, maybe I'm giving him goth points. But that's the other thing too. There is a link between the rave world and the goth world. Sure, cyber goths.
Oh yes. Oh, don't tell me. The cyber goth community is a complicated one.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say the movie Blade.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
It works.
But Justin was still under his brother's thumb in many ways. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, he would watch his brother have sex with Carrie at Taylor's request. And also, as I mentioned before, Justin was seen by his roommates on more than one occasion on all fours, eating from a plate on the floor while making loud smacking sounds.
Henry might be right.
I got it in my eyebrows.
Yeah, I think Henry might be right.
Eating like a dog.
And I think he's just an impossibly weird human being. I don't think he's simple.
Marcus,
I
have
think
you ever
he's just
eaten food
weird.
like a dog? Have you ever eaten food like a dog?
No, but I'm not that weird. I'm not a weird person.
Sure. Yeah, right.
I'm really not.
Okay.
I'm a
Oh,
very
sure,
normal
yeah,
person. I'm a
okay.
normal human being. Don't give me that look. They can't see the look you're making right now.
see
But
it.
it's not.
I'm not commenting because this is my I'm not commenting look. This is me. We're keeping the business together. Oh, you're totally normal, Marcus.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone loves dirt and bones.
When you said, "Oh, I've already got so many raccoon penises."
Yeah,
But that's not my doing. I didn't buy the raccoon penises. People are giving me the
We're
bacula.
gonna throw things away that are given, but you know, whatever.
That's the thing about on all fours eating like a dog. I don't know if that was his own doing or if it was a request from his brother. Although I do, admittedly, I think it's the former. I think he did do it because he liked it.
He's a weird guy. He's just a weird guy.
He's just super weird.
I think you were right with goat.
Yeah, he's a goat.
Now, once the ideas started flowing, Taylor evolved out of Into Me See and started brainstorming an impact-inspired project called Transform America.
We're transforming America.
Which was based on what Justin called his 12 principles of magic.
Number 1, always have coins. Number 2, never kill a pigeon. Number 3, girl's gotta be skinny if you want to cut her in half.
Monocle as well. Always have a monocle.
In these 12 principles, he swiped ideas from impact, like the idea of there being no right and wrong. But he also added certain caveats that could justify any future actions he might take, because it was obvious from these principles that his future plans required some big justifications.
Oh yes, very much so. It is a justification guide, because it's all like he will make sure that whatever he does is in the power of Christ. It's all this kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Where like no matter what he does, God willed it.
Yeah, he proclaimed himself perfect, so he could do no wrong. His perceptions were deemed always correct.
Isn't that something?
And he decided that the only way to gain control was to lose control.
Well, fantastic.
What does that mean?
This is just wonder. It means that he is God.
It means he can do as much meth as he wants.
That's what it means.
It's perfect.
It's meth. Again, remember, all of this has got little sprinkles of meth.
You
all
can
throughout.
feel the meth.
At this immediate point,
This is
he's not
ecstasy.
quite into meth yet.
Oh, yeah.
He's seeing it around. He's wondering, what's that all about?
What's that over there?
Maybe I can check that out later.
You know, my brother thinks he's a dog.
Perhaps most important, though, was the principle that said that, quote, spirit knows everything, meaning that anything that came into his head could be seen as a revelation from God. Because remember, spirit talks to him. Meanwhile, Taylor was still in the sex game, and he began pushing Carrie into helping him build a new venture to fund Transform America called the Feline
It's all
Club.
over here, too.
You fucking get it? You assholes?
I get it. I actually, what is it? The Feline Pussy Club?
Pussy Club.
Is that what he's doing? He's making a pun?
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean,
now.
it was essentially a high-class escort service for rich men in the financial sector.
Okay.
This escort service, however, soon transformed into another truly harebrained scheme. And right here, this is when he starts doing meth.
Oh, okay.
And ecstasy at the same time.
Fantastic. Meth-tasy.
Yeah, you know it's like being unnaturally happy? Also being incredibly fast.
Love it.
The basic idea was that Taylor would get attractive young women to pose as sandwich delivery girls.
You already got my ear.
Wow, interesting.
Those sandwich delivery girls would deliver sandwiches to Taylor's old Morgan Stanley office.
Now ask them if they want a hand job.
Not quite yet. First, they would gain their trust. Then, they would lure them back to the house for a hand job.
I just want the sandwich.
Can I get the sandwich, please?
Once the men were in a suitably compromising position, Taylor would photograph the stockbrokers with those sex workers and blackmail Morgan Stanley for $50 million.
Don't mind me. You see me set up the 1920s camera. Just stay still.
Sure. No, because it's gonna blur. I need to see your face. Well, it's because then he'd reveal, hey, guess what? She's 14. Like, and then he would show her, and then she'd be like, have the braces back on. She'd be like, Tommy, I didn't know.
Oh, no.
But you know who did this? Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
He literally, so it's not that harebrained.
No.
It was real.
Yeah, it was real. I think the
That's
harebrained
Yucca
part was the
Valley.
$50 million blackmail.
Yes,
that
I
was
think
the
so.
harebrained part.
Oh, yeah, I think that the harebrained idea was that he could even
this is
get it
Josh and
together.
Yeah.
So Morgan Stanley is like, all right, we have two options. We can pay him $50 million bucks, or if we normalize fucking teenagers.
Let's get to the radio.
By the way, he was willing to settle for $20 million. His original plan, like, we asked for
he's
$50
willing to
million,
settle.
we get $20 million.
Because that's you started $50 million.
That's right.
to get
He's so
to $20
smart.
Yeah. Well, to recruit possible sex workers, Taylor would go to raves and hand out true or false questionnaires to gauge the moral flexibility of potential minions in his far-fetched scheme. These questionnaires read, quote,
Sex before marriage is wrong? True or false? I'm a powerful sexual person? True or false?
Oh my God.
I'm a religious person? True or false? I don't do drugs? True or false? Lying is wrong? True or false? Come on, what do you think? Stealing is wrong? True or false?
Bro, I gotta get to the bar, man. You are bumming
Sir,
me
I have a
out.
pencil.
Oh my Lord.
Now, not surprisingly, Taylor was not able to recruit a single woman successfully because no one goes to a rave to fill out a questionnaire.
Unless you're getting free camels.
That is
That's what
true.
he forgot.
Oh my
And maybe
God,
you don't
I
like
got
it.
so many fucking free camels from those ladies in Motor City.
Oh, yeah.
So many.
Oh, yeah.
You're the luckiest guy around, Marcus.
I was, and they still sent like literature to my family's home for years
grandma was
after.
a solid smoker.
I remember that.
It only kills 1 in 10.
That's it.
Born
Carrie
right here.
was starting to realize that Taylor was nothing more than a
At the
parasite,
hospital.
and this actually
So is
threw a
my
bit of a
brother, I
wrench into
think.
Taylor's plans. See, before Taylor even really got his ideas for Transform America together, because if there's one phrase that can be used in conjunction with
that's
Taylor
right.
Heltzer, it's jump the gun.
Yeah.
He figured he needed a core group of 3 people to help him out. His right-hand man, of course, would be Justin, and Taylor hoped Carrie would be the third.
Well, that was a twist on a Mormon story and Mormon old. I forget what the term. It's not a psalm. It's something like that, where Jesus chose 3 people to go with him to America. And so that's what his justification.
That's where it comes from. However, soon after Carrie's Playboy spread was published, Playboy offered her a full contract.
Whoa!
So she moved to Los Angeles.
These cities are going places.
Nice.
Never once looked back at the almost cult she almost joined.
Wow.
Now she just has to go watch Hugh Hefner masturbate.
Yeah.
She dodged a massive bullet with not being a part of this cult. I'll tell you that.
She was in a couple of videos. Playmates Unzipped.
Oh, we do the research. This isn't like other true crime podcasts.
That's right.
We look at the tits.
Oh, yeah.
Unzipped.
I definitely made sure I had full
That's cool.
understanding.
Yeah. I was born out here. Yeah,
Carrie
like I was saying.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Right there.
There was, however, still the question of who was going to be the third, and Taylor found the perfect mark in a 22-year-old former meth user named Don Godman, who had left meth behind after finding solace in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, it's quite possible that Justin and Taylor had realized that Carrie hadn't worked out because she didn't have the Mormon foundation. So they began trolling LDS singles functions beginning in 1998.
It really is pointed because I didn't think about that because at first I was like, how did they get Dawn? And then because then I realized like, oh, they met her at a singles show. It's like, oh, this is all they were doing. They were just going looking to see who's the saddest one in the crowd.
Yeah, and not only who's the saddest one in the crowd, who was going to approach them. It was actually, he did have some clever ideas.
Because he would show up. I love this because he'd show up in full rave gear, like literally like not dressed like a Mormon at all. Like he has fucking like fake fucking dreads in and like fucking it's like shiny pants on, and then Justin would be full gut, black, dressed like a fucking vampire, and they just like roll in, being like, what?
Here?
What are you gonna do about it? We're a little different. And they did the head twist.
No, here.
Yeah, I mean, this one was a murder mystery dinner. And this one time they both showed up in all black because they're trying to get period. Yeah, they dressed as like 19th century preachers. Everyone else, by the way, just dressed like Mormons.
Yeah, they were in full costume.
Yeah. While everyone else laughed at the two obviously desperate dickheads and did their best to avoid them, Dawn was drawn to the pair because they looked like the meth heads she used to hang out with back when she was a meth head. She's like, oh man, I used to be a meth head too. Maybe I could talk about meth with those guys. They're Mormons, they're not doing meth, but they look like meth heads.
Dawn viewed herself as an outsider, right? Because she said that she was never properly loved or paid attention to, and she saw these men.
Let me get my bearings.
Mocked by the rest of the tribe. And yes, they might be stinky and obviously begging for attention, but I'll give them their attention because no one gave me anything, and I'm gonna reach across and be the Mormon land bridge for you to walk across.
Don't do it, Dawn.
Now, Dawn wasn't made the third member immediately. Partly, I think,
this right here used to be a
Dawn was not what you'd call attractive. Because Taylor had just lost a literal Playboy model.
I just don't know if you're transform America material. We kind of want to move a different direction.
Yeah, Dawn wasn't particularly pretty. She was overweight, and as we'll soon see, she was a bit of a dullard.
Hey, man,
she just was. I mean, she participated in the murder of 5 fucking people.
That's why we
Absolutely
can
wild.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was going to be flying over
she
this.
showed up, and she definitely, she was the dupe that needed to be there.
Yeah, just full-on dud.
A lot of fun out
is the best way to describe her.
Yeah.
So Taylor Heltzer continued trolling for possible recruits. Not at Bay Area raves, he learned his lesson there, but rather at church, where he started holding informal study groups in the parking lot after service was over.
If I'm a pastor, I'm like, yo, brother, you got to get out of here.
Dude, this is exactly what happened, is that he started hosting his own. He'd be like, yeah, you guys are at the Bible study? See you at the Bible study after the Bible study. And then he'd like walk out to the fucking parking lot.
This
and
is
like,
Benny's Burger Joint. You can't sell burgers right outside of it.
Yeah, well, maybe you don't understand America and freedom and the fact that I brought a grill.
I paid for the parking lot.
Parking lots, you can't own a parking lot because I watched Pocahontas.
Wow,
Taylor
Valley's
told me
got so much
that the
bigger.
LDS had wildly veered away from what Joseph Smith had originally taught, saying that listening to the church was like listening to the wrong radio station. One of them was evil, and one of them was godly.
They're both DJs.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Through that study group, Taylor began convincing interested women to attend Harmony Impact courses, probably thinking, if Harmony Impact breaks them down first, I don't got to put in all the groundwork.
This is DJ Jesus Christ. Here's another hit song. It's the same one I always play, The Age of Aquarius.
One of these women, a sometime follower named Kelly Lord, said that Taylor would often test her loyalty by asking such meth-inspired questions as, quote,
Hey, if I asked you to rob this Carl's Jr.
First time I got
for
drunk
me,
was somewhere over here.
would you be open to that?
Oh, no, man. We can. It's a
I don't know if you're Transform America material.
No, I'm not sure we can just buy it.
We're just gonna have to go.
Man.
Kelly, however, saw right through Taylor, and when she told him that he'd end up like David Koresh if he wasn't careful, he tossed her aside, saying to her, like he said to anyone who disagreed with him, she wasn't on his level.
You don't get it. You don't get me.
gosh.
You don't get Transform America, so you don't get in.
Sometimes you don't get stuff because it's too stupid.
Yep.
No, Kissel. No way.
Another woman who came close to joining Taylor's fledgling cult was Deborah McClanahan, who also knew Taylor and Justin from the LDS church. Now, at first, she was drawn to Taylor just like all the rest, and she would give both Taylor and Justin erotic massages to completion.
Whoa.
Now, you talking
So
about her
can't see it, but Marcus did do the jerk-off motion.
Sure. Now, yeah, because I don't know if you talk about jerk off or you talk about does she just massage them and then sit on their face for 15 minutes?
We just don't know.
We really don't know.
We don't know.
It was to ejaculation. The author of the book did very explicitly say to ejaculations to make
And
them
the book actually
ejaculate.
came with a little bit of cum.
Interesting.
Well, additionally, this woman, Deborah McClanahan, she and future follower Don Godman, who we just mentioned, they had a threesome at Taylor's request with some dude they met at a bar called Catfish Charlie's.
The romance is in the air. In that apartment with the other two ass roommates just like wondering what the fuck they're doing, sitting around being like, maybe we need to leave San Francisco.
Maybe it's
like,
not
I'm
for
not.
us.
I thought I was going to be the Prima Barrel Arena. I guess I'm not because I'm 45 and I'm a Polish man. And I guess we're all just going to have to go, huh? Like while they're all trying to play Smash Brothers while this cult is forming in the living room.
This was peak San Francisco, right after the real world. They got a little rub from that. A lot of people thought San Fran was cool.
Yeah, this was peak San Francisco,
This was.
1997.
Yum, yum, yum.
Not the 70s.
But again, like most of the rest, the game didn't stick to Deborah, and she left Taylor to continue her life as both a Mormon and a witch.
Whoa.
She did both.
Oh, okay.
We contain multitudes.
Absolutely. A Mormon.
Mm-hmm. A Mormon.
A Mormon.
Mormon.
A
Yeah.
witch. You Mormon.
Don Godman, however, had fallen for Taylor's shtick completely and attended Harmony meetings with gusto. She said that her meeting was in a sealed-off warehouse with no windows, and people couldn't even go to the bathroom without permission. And even if they got permission, they had to go with one of the people in charge.
Well, joke's on you. I'm going to the bathroom right now.
And you just completed the program.
Yes! You got the shortcut.
Woo!
The first day, she said, was constant verbal attacks perpetrated by a tall blonde man named Dion, who talked in the same authoritarian tone that Taylor often used when he wanted to convince someone to do something they didn't want to do.
Hey, Don, guess what? You look like Louis Anderson now. Got you. Okay, guys, come on. He's got a body like an orange, but not the personality. Come on, guys. Come on.
Roast mode. Roast mode. Gosh.
You got gnome legs.
What? You can't believe you said that to me.
The goal, Don later said in a moment of clarity, was to get her to a place with no fixed values, a place where right and wrong didn't exist. And when she got to that point, she became a willing, if disappointing, number 3.
Guess we'll take her.
Yeah. It really was that.
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted the hot he wanted the Manson girls, you know? He wanted the hot lady fucking cult.
Sure.
And it's just
A dog.
Just Dawn.
It's Dawn and his brother who eats like a dog.
Yeah.
And then Dawn, she, like, this is what we're saying. This is why it's just not an elite team. And Dawn, she was mostly pulled in, and this is true. She said it was because Taylor would hug her no matter how long and how far she wanted it.
Yeah.
She loved to be hugged. She'd never been hugged. She's just like, and you just wouldn't believe, Taylor, he'd sit down on the couch with you, and he'd hug you for an hour. And like that's all she wanted.
Never loved or anything.
No, I mean there's the. I mean,
it's sad.
It is sad. I mean, this is the part where you're like, okay, like she had a hard upbringing.
But then she kills 5 people.
Understand, but then she kills 5 people and dismembers 3 of them, and tosses their remains into a river delta.
Maybe they should have given her a hug. We don't know that, but we'll get to it, I'm sure.
It's possible.
This is the only time when the free hugs people could have saved someone else.
I love that. You know, people offering free hugs, it's always the people you don't want to hug.
Don't touch me.
Yeah. Well, eventually, Taylor began bringing Don in on the ideas that he had for schemes that would fund Transform America, even though he didn't really seem to have a good idea of what Transform America would actually be just yet.
You don't get it, okay? You're not with it.
Okay.
Get me? We're transforming America.
Yeah. Actually, here to listen. What do you think? What is it?
America's like this, but what if it's like that?
Like that. Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his whole thing is like, we got to fund Transform America first. We got to get the money before we can really figure out what Transform America is really all about.
Oh, fantastic.
And this is truly an American flaw.
Yeah.
This is because he's obsessed with capital. He is obsessed with it. And he didn't even think about you need a fundamental system first and then fund it.
One idea was to shoot out the windows in a bunch of fast food.
Okay.
Then, when stock dropped, like say, shoot out a bunch of Taco Bells, and Taco Bell stock goes down.
Fucking stock goes down, right?
Yeah.
Right? Right? No, listen. And everybody's like, all the tacos, right? Everybody's like, there's a revolution against tacos in this country, right?
Yeah. And then when the stock falls, you buy a bunch of it up. And then you stop shooting the windows out of all the Taco Bells, stock goes back up, you sell it, you make a fucking mint, bro.
Boom, done.
Can I just get a hug?
Yes, Don.
Oh.
Yes. How about just wrap a sweater around you real tight?
That'll work.
Well, this quite methy plan, like most of them, just never got off the ground. They never actually tried it. It was just one of many, spitballing ideas.
Wow,
because it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This is Fight Club.
This is Fight Club.
Yes.
Well, meanwhile, Justin was keeping a journal of his goals for the year, which were just as vague as they were pathetic. Because remember, Justin also helped kill 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Among others, his 3 main goals were, quote,
okay, number 1, driver.
Okay.
It's the word driver with a question mark.
Okay.
Number 2, sexual lover.
So he wants one of those. He wants a driver and a sexual lover.
We don't know.
That's the thing. We don't know because number 3 does make a distinction.
And number 3, I want to become a druid.
It doesn't even say I'm going to become a druid. It just says become a druid.
Become a druid?
They're very confusing because it's like driver? What does that mean? Does he mean he wants a driver or he wants to be a driver? Does he not know how to drive?
Well, it'd be kind of fun to have a driver, and honestly, people don't understand when they read it. I'm in a golf club.
That's interesting. NASCAR was pretty hot in the 90s.
Yeah. Number 2, a sexual lover. I don't know if he wants a sexual lover or if he wants to be a sexual lover.
He confessed to Dawn that he did not have many partners in life. And
because he lived with his brother and kept on watching his brother have sex with a bunch of women.
And he ate
it's
like a dog.
Difficult.
He didn't really have a thing. You know what I mean?
By the year 2000, Taylor began to trust both Justin and Don enough to tell them his ideas for Transform America, or more likely, he finally got his meth and ecstasy-addled thoughts together enough to form a somewhat coherent idea.
You guys are gonna get this, because you guys get me.
Yeah. All right. He revealed that Transform America would basically be a training course that the whole country would take.
Oh, yeah.
It would transform America.
I get it. I got it.
Transforming America.
In order for this to work, however, Taylor would need to first install himself as the head of the Mormon Church.
Of course.
Oh, but that's like a huge thing.
Yeah, details.
It's like my main thing is
detail.
My main thing is like how I know I'm gonna make it in show business is I'm gonna become Lord Michaels.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go.
Lord Michaels is alive. So
I'm gonna go get him I'm gonna go get him. I'm gonna become him. I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna do him.
This is the same idea as like when your mom asks you like, Henry, have you ever thought about being on Broadway?
Why aren't you ever in those television shows? This is what she hit me with last time I visited. She's like, I don't understand. I saw that one show. Why aren't you on that show?
Yeah. Why aren't you on Young Sheldon?
I don't know. I actually did audition for Young Sheldon.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I've been there for fucking years. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I'm the main character, yeah. I play Cum Lord. It's incredible. I milk young Sheldon. It's about, the whole show, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's about a young Sheldon's relationship with an older man.
Oh, I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
it's incredible. It's a brave show.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, this is what I'm talking about. It's like big signposts, but no connective tissue. Where it's like, number 1, I become head of the Mormon Church. Number 2, I transform America through a series of training videos.
Fantastic.
Number 3, Jesus Christ comes back. Boom. All the rest is details, bro.
Boom, boom, boom,
Even
boom,
Billy
boom.
Blanks had a better business model than this.
This plan, however, which did not yet have any shape or form, would take a lot of money.
Has to.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta have a lot of money.
Which is the worst of all. It's the worst of all things.
He knows that he's gonna need a lot of money for this.
Okay.
Quite possibly, he also needs. We might have to kill some people. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
But are you willing to go far enough to do it?
Yeah.
Can I get a hug?
Yeah.
Dawn, not right now, okay?
That's not great.
All right. I'll see all this as I'm hugging you, Dawn.
Thank you.
God, you're hot. You're physically hot.
Yeah.
A warm presence.
Yes, I am.
Warm woman.
That's I'm currently going to the bathroom.
I love the harmony training out. It really took over.
Well, at first, like Taylor soft pedaled the idea of murder. Just at first.
Maybe murder. Maybe you could just, maybe we could sink them.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get them
We're
wet.
just gonna sink people.
You know what we'll do? Shoot them with the little squirt gun. Every time they do something naughty, we'll send them with a squirt gun.
Okay.
But he told Justin and Dawn that killing was acceptable to God on certain occasions.
It is.
Because even the Bible and the Book of Mormon featured God murdering people when the situation called for it. And even sometimes told someone to murder someone else.
Got you. Delegation.
I guess so.
Obama killed millions.
Yeah. And when stuff, what? Millions?
Millions.
Millions. You just say anything.
Yeah, you really can't just
I
say
have a
anything.
microphone in my
Yeah. And once Dawn and Justin agreed that murder was indeed acceptable because there was no such thing as right and wrong, only results.
Okay.
Taylor's mini cult spun out of control impossibly fast. And it's with the cult resulting 5 murders that will continue our story next week. And you can't even imagine how fucking stupid their reasoning is for killing these 5 people.
Somehow, it just gets dumber. Yeah. But with the dumb comes absolute brutality as well.
That is the worst. Well,
And that's the last podcast. That's the last podcast promise.
Yeah.
There is no.
It's a gold star on the next episode. Thank you all
I
so
wouldn't
much.
say gold star, but it is
Oh,
blue.
here we go.
Yeah, they don't have optics anymore.
Yeah.
After doing like Randy Kraft, you start to understand like there really is a bridge. There's a barrier to what truly is a gold star. Like, because I would just say that it's just
No, we better be getting
it's a
close.
lot of murder for Dawn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's because it's Dawn doing it. You're like, well, this is a lot.
Yeah, and it's a lot of hammers.
A lot of
Well, it
hammers.
sounds like it might be a gold star episode.
I mean, unless you're Bob Vila and that's how you wanted it. Remember?
All right, everyone.
What, that he got beat to death by hammers? That's how he died? Yeah, I remember, I remember that.
You
Yeah.
would love that.
Yeah.
This old house that I'm buried under. Thank you all so much for listening. That's just the little insight into Children of Thunder. For being such a dipshitty cult, they have a really cool name.
It's a cool name, yeah. It comes
but-
from a Bible verse like the Sons of Thunder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right, everyone.
Sons of
thank
Thunder
you.
is actually better than Children of Thunder.
yeah, it is.
But yeah, but he wanted.
But you got Dawn. You can't be. You gotta be children.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Because then that makes you all like,
Yeah,
and you
wouldn't
can't
wanna-
be like-
You wouldn't want to get that wrong.
Yeah, you can't be like the Thunder Boys.
Thunder Boys.
Again, Thunder Down Under. Check it out in Las Vegas. Mail review. They're all Australian, and my God, are they packing? All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We got Soul Plumber out there.
Yep.
That's
All six issues are out.
all 6 issues. Marcus No Dog says the replacements they're covering.
Replacements Part 2 is out now.
Absolutely. We're covering all the things you need to know about politics on Top Hat, and then we're
Fun,
busy
brand
little
new.
beavers.
Season 2 is back out there someplace underneath. It is out there.
Check
They are
it out.
coming. A very compelling case right now. I'm really excited. Honestly, they did great work.
Absolutely.
And I've already seen a couple of the series coming up, and they are really doing good work. I can't wait.
Awesome. And thanks to everyone who's listening to our series shows. It's every Monday at 4 p.m. PST and 7 p.m. EST. That's been so fun. So thanks for calling in. And just keep on following all the things we do. And we had a fantastic time in Boston.
We better have. We fucking better have.
We'll see you on the road soon. Okay, everyone. Hail yourselves.
Hail Satan.
No need.
Installations.
Hey, me.
Give someone a hug.
Hey,
don't kill 5 people.
Yeah, hugs can be good.
Yeah, hugging more hugs, I guess.
Stop being like a dog.
Maybe we should. Maybe not. Maybe more hugs isn't the message.
Well, I think if you don't kill 5 people afterwards, it's fine.
Yeah.
And don't eat like a dog.
Marcus, would you kill for me?
I kill for you?
Yeah.
Like if you asked me to?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Whatever, bro.
Who do you want to kill? Not even.
I'll tell you later.
This show is made possible by listeners like you. Thanks to our ad sponsors, you can support our shows by supporting them. For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to lastpodcastnetwork.com.
Generic Niner Charlie Alpha contact Los Angeles Center on 126.35. Good day.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Stop doing that.
All right, baby boys, let's get into her. Let's get it on.
Yeah, I love it when you say, let's get into her. That's my favorite way to start the show, where you say, you look at the two of us, and you say,
with that,
yes.
Then I burped immediately.
You look at us across the room, and you say, let's get into it.
There we go.
The X-Men, nor had they gone to Denny's that night.
And I would have remembered.
Yeah.
Of course, you never forget a Denny's trip.
And she immediately gave them access to her safe, which held checkbooks belonging to the Steinmans and the gun used to kill Ginny Villerin and Jim Gamble. And to top it all off, when they finally tracked down the $10,000 test check that Don Godman had forged and deposited into Selena Bishop's account right after the Steinmans had been murdered, it was found that Don had misspelled the name Steinman.
Who is Steinman? Don? Who is Steinman?
I had a lot going on, honestly. I had to go to 3 different hat stores.
Stay by the truck.
Yeah, and honestly, even just getting this lime green jumpsuit was really very difficult.
Love you.
So.
Go by the truck. Just go by the truck.
All right.
Please.
Now, in the lead up to the trials, it seemed like the Children of Thunder were going to stick together. But just before the trials began, Don Godman flipped and gave a full confession in order to avoid the death penalty. That's why we know everything that we know about the Children of Thunder, and honestly, I kind of think that that's why we don't know a lot of the details about the Children of Thunder, because I don't think Don had, like, great recall for a lot of stuff.
I don't know if Dawn should have been the secretary of the cult. But sometimes that's where you get to. Sometimes it's who shows up again. You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You can't beg.
No,
What is it, Annie Potts? She's no Annie Potts.
She's no Annie Potts.
That's right. Well, for her cooperation, she got 37 years to life. 19 days after Dawn flipped, Justin changed his plea from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity.
Okay, hear me out. I'm not guilty by reason I'm a dog.
I'm a dog.
I'm actually a dog.
How would I know? I'm just a dog. I'm only as good as my trainer.
But it was very easily proved that Justin was not insane, just stupid and weak. However, during the trial, Justin did become somewhat unmoored. At one point near the end, he started saying in open court that he wanted this life to be over, that he just wanted to die.
Sure, go for it.
And when the judge said that this wasn't the time for such statements, Justin seriously said, quote,
I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I just want to die. I just want to die, please. Can I, please?
Just, you'll have plenty of time to think about it.
And even though Justin did eventually get the death penalty for his part in the murders, he didn't wait for the state to carry out the sentence. In 2010, Justin attempted suicide by ramming pens into both of his eyeballs.
God! Go!
But
there's actually so many better ways to even do that!
I made a bit of a miscalculation.
You did again!
Came away with blindness and brain damage.
Can I get a do-over?
At least put it in your frickin' ear or something.
There was, however, just enough function left for Justin to hang himself, and he did so in 2013
The good
while
news is
being
there's cars to the
incarcerated
airport
at
every
San
like 5
Quentin.
miles in the east.
As far as Taylor Heltzer goes, though, he tried a different gamble. Just before his trial, he switched his plea from not guilty to guilty, and did so without any deal in place. The gamble did not work, and Taylor Heltzer was sentenced to death for the 5 murders he committed. To this day, he sits on death row in San Quentin, where he tells psychiatrists that his schemes failed because he didn't hear God correctly.
What if he's right?
Well, he definitely did. He definitely did not.
Yeah,
So
because this is
that
not. If there is a God, this isn't one of his plans.
No, but you know what's so funny? The game of telephone. And even with 4 people, you're going to start hearing mixed messages.
Honestly, when it came down, I realized I was just listening to God's friend.
Isn't that insane? It turns out it was just Eric Clapton's most recent album the whole time.
Oh
It was
my
just
God.
nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was really horrible.
What a fucked up story.
Children of the Thunder. I'm Children of Thunder. I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed. I'm just pissed. Wow. Man, hanging.
Last Podcast on the Left is brought to you by Progressive. Are you thinking more about how to tighten up your budget these days? Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save pressing between June.
That's when the cannibalism started.
Clear to MITS Zurich 1 Delta Kilo. 135.4 LAFCO 1432.
Put your hands up! Put your hands up!
Put your hands up!
Put your hands up! In the air, everybody go ready. Talk in the microphone. Oh man, I'm garbage. I am already garbage. I don't know how to begin. I don't know what to do.
Welcome to the last podcast on the left, everyone. I am Ben, hanging out with hip hop Henry Zabrowski.
Yep.
Nothing cooler than that. And everyone loves a Polish rapper.
I mean, see how goosebumpy? Like, it's kind of cold in here, and I'm wearing my boy shorts. You can really see the hair stick up on my knees.
Oh, I love it. Marcus Parks is with us as well.
Hello.
Well,
Blood. Wow. blood. This is going to be a lot of blood in this episode. And it's mostly just because, but I think it's just really important for everybody. This is talking from one broad strokes thinker to another, right? I'm an idea man, right? I'm not a logistics guy.
who cares about logistics? They're the only thing, just because they're the things that actually accomplish the goal that you have with your wide stripes. Who cares?
Whatever. It takes an idea to start the ship, and then all of these seamen, they crawl all over it, and then they direct it. I don't know what they do, but I started the ship. I don't know if that metaphor even works. But today's episode is all about how, while you do, it is important to have the broad idea, man.
Absolutely.
He inspires people like I inspire you to.
He sets the tone.
Yes. He sets the tone, and then when you get somebody else, you have to have a detailed person. That's the thing. And today's
this Marcus just a kind of a detailed guy.
Absolutely.
More type A.
But this episode shows how if you don't have at least one anal retentive nerd in the group, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fall.
Then we're gonna be just fine, boys. My anal has been retaining everything as of late. It's been a long time since I've had a BM. Anyway, let's move on. We're talking the Children of Thunder.
So when we last left Taylor Heltzer and his two cult followers, the trio were just getting comfortable with the idea of committing violence in service of Taylor's vision, because Taylor had convinced his brother, Justin Heltzer, and his most ardent follower, Don Godman, that God was cool with murder in certain situations.
They really jumped so quickly into murder. Like the idea of, like, it was the third idea that he had. He's like, some people are gonna have to die for this. And they're all like, yeah.
Yep. Why not? I went to bed and I was like, how do I feel about murder? And I was like, I don't love it. But you know, I woke up today and I am just like, I love it. I had a change of heart. I had an aha dream. And I love murder now. Isn't that weird?
Oh, it's because you killed a bunch of people in your dreams?
I don't know, man.
In addition to using the Bible to justify murder, Taylor also took the name for his little trifecta of weirdos, the Children of Thunder, from the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 17. In this verse, disciples James and John were named the Sons of Thunder, which Taylor adapted into the gender-neutral Children of Thunder.
Golf clap for wokeness.
Wow, good for him. Yes, he's more than a double murderer? But at least he recognized that his group is multiple different types.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Nice?
And they, do you know that the Sons of Thunder is the name of the band from Airheads?
Oh, they're no kidding.
No, I thought they're the Lone Rangers.
What?
That's right, the Lone Rangers. Marcus, counterpoint. Now I remember
how are
that
they?
too.
Remember, like, how are you lone if there's three of you?
Wow.
Either way, you stand
cutting all of this out.
No, we have to keep that in. That's a point counterpoint. And that's a victory for Marcus, so he does need to have a score.
He's got the outline.
Yes, but that was an improv.
Little outline.
That was an improv.
Yeah, when I'm not around, you don't know the difference between fucking dandelions
If
and
you bring it up
daffodils, so
again,
yeah.
I swear to fucking Christ.
You have 500 pounds of pure German and Polish meat attacking your bones.
Yeah, man, we're gonna crush you, dude. This is what. Whoa.
Well, according to Christianity.com, when we're talking about the whole Sons of Thunder reference, James and John, the disciples, they were rough-hewn guys. They were so gung-ho on Jesus' message of peace that they once asked their Lord and Savior if he wanted them to more or less burn down a village because the villagers didn't welcome Jesus in advance.
I know you're super busy, Jesus, but honestly, when it comes down to it, we want to do it.
We love peace. We love peace so much, we are willing to kill for it.
Yeah.
Do you not see any irony with that at all? No.
Yeah, I do. You know, the only irony I see is that if you got 10,000 spoons, but all you need is a knife.
That's from Alanis Morissette.
That's bad luck. That's not irony.
Don't even start the argument about Alanis Morissette. It's a fantastic song.
The whole point of the song is that the song's called Ironic,
and it's ironic
yet there is not a bit. It's ironic that there's no irony in the song. It's
I'm just so happy. Speaking of WOKE, yes, we usually do Uncle Corner, but I'm happy we finally got to Aunt Corner.
This is
very nice.
This is an auntie moment.
Well, in other words, James and John were the aggressive disciples. And I don't know if they asked if they could burn down the village. They just asked Jesus, like, you want us to rain down the fire of heaven on these bros? You want us to fucking do it? You want us to?
Let's go.
Oh God, I can't think of the 12 disciples wearing tap-out shirts.
Well, these are the disciples who had no problem committing acts of violence if Jesus so wanted it. And while Jesus never wanted violence, quite the opposite, in fact, Taylor Heltzer needed violence for his plan to work.
It still wasn't really clear why, though. Because I know that he had the plan. We're going to get into all of this today. Taylor Heltzer's murder plan is one of the single worst in quality murder plan I have seen in true crime. He has a terrible plan. They did need murder. As a matter of fact, murder hurt the plan. They could have done a lot of extortion without the murder. The murder is what fucked it all up.
But, I mean, the murder is what warrants the name Thunder.
I think it was the size of one of the members.
Oh, could be. The person, by the way, kudos to the person who sent the Goofy Brothers from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I saw that and I was like,
it is very similar.
They are very similar
to the Helzer brothers.
Yeah, the McBoyles. Now, concerning Taylor's overall plan, it was still somewhat up in the air as far as specifics went.
Yes.
Generally, Taylor believed that his self-help group, Transform America, was going to transform America.
We're going to transform America in a way that it is different than it was before.
Fantastic.
And it really didn't go further than that.
No.
I mean, I think he said, I would transform America, and then the second coming of Christ is somehow going to come afterwards, but there's not a whole lot of steps as far as how that's going to happen.
You're missing the step. It's yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Which is Latin for, we're going to figure this out later.
Figure it out. Absolutely. No, I love it. He sounds like this is just like, I don't know if you guys heard Roger Stone's plan to make sure that Trump is installed as the new president. This is very similar. It's goofy, not possible, but people seem to like a story, no matter how dumb it is.
With that plan, too, it's all like, we're going to let the fans figure it out.
We're going to let the fans do it. Yada, yada, yada.
But one thing that Taylor Heltzer understood is that even though you may not have a solid plan, you still need a solid headquarters.
That's true.
I don't believe in brick and mortar. I don't believe in it.
So they're going to go they're kind of jumping a lot of steps here.
That is the defining feature of the Children of Thunder, is jumping the gun.
Well, even the Ghostbusters, they caught a ghost before they got their ghost station. They had to prove that they were, that they warranted a station.
Actually, you're incorrect. They got the firehouse first.
Yeah, they didn't actually catch the ghost. The ghost screamed at them, and they ran away, and then they decided...
That was your plan.
We're just going to edit this part out. And
no, now we have to keep it.
No, I don't like it.
Now it's a point-counterpoint. Yeah, you have one. Yeah.
Are we bringing back CNN's Crossfire?
Kissel, the only thing that we can do now is undermine Marcus. All right? That's the rest of the episode.
We have to do that.
So in the spring of 2000, Taylor got Justin and Dawn to rent a house for the then kingly sum of $16.50 a month.
Yeah.
Where all three of them would live. $16.50 in the year 2000 was a lot of fucking cash.
Yeah. A lot.
And when the landlord, who thought only Justin was living there, when he asked why this seemingly single, oddball cable guy needed a 3-bedroom house all for himself...
You just don't understand. It's Liebenstraw.
Justin said he needed 1 room for sleeping, 1 room for exercise, and 1 room for meditation.
They have to be separated because I get too excited in the exercise room in order for me to relax.
I mean, I'm not backing up any of these douchebags, but it seems like the landlord can also shut up.
I mean,
just be like, I'm gonna rent it. What do you mean? Why do I need 3 rooms? I'm renting it. So
what do we know about Justin? He eats like a dog, and he's dressed like a bing-bong version of Neo from The Matrix. He shows up and he's talking to this landlord who's looking at this guy probably like, how do you even have the money to afford this? And Justin's a fucking weirdo. Like, he has red flags are waving for a reason.
Okay. Yeah. Now, once the Children of Thunder had a compound of a sort, they began having daily meetings that started with prayers led by Taylor.
Put your hands together. Put your hands together.
I can't
Get the energy up. Pass the ball.
Is this DDP yoga? What's going on?
Then, once Taylor established himself to his followers as a man of God, it was time for some Pinky in the Brain style plans.
Seriously.
I love that show.
See, the thing to remember about the Children of Thunder is that their plans are all big picture. And it really was like, what are we doing today, Taylor? We're gonna take over the world.
Transform America.
Details and logistics never once crossed Taylor Heltzer's mind when he was coming up with the schemes to take over the world, which is exactly why his cult never really got off the ground. He tried taking a shortcut in every way possible.
The only person who's allowed to do that is, I mean, you have to be a Timothy Chalamet ding dong. You need to be born into money.
You, again, out of nowhere, found a way to criticize Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, and to make fun of his name for some reason, which I don't know why both you and Jackie have.
His name is Tim Chon. I don't know what his real name is.
We don't know. This is your Walter from the Big Lebowski moment. What does Vietnam have to do with this? Nothing to do with Timothy Chalamet.
You know, guess what? But Timothy Chalamet, honestly, is at least he's better than Eddie Redmayne. Who is the walking plague of man.
Okay. Unwarranted.
In other words, Taylor Heltzer was such a megalomaniac and on so much meth.
Never forget.
That he never stopped to question the how of anything, assuming that it would all work out because he was just so goddamn special.
It's obnoxious. He's such an obnoxious fuck.
For example, Taylor believed that Transform America would only work if he was installed head of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the plans to make this happen was codenamed Brazil.
This is the thing, Dog Meat 2. You say that he didn't work out all the details. You're going to hear the details of this plan, and I think it's pretty rock solid.
Can we? Why Brazil? Based off of the film? Okay.
Well, in this scheme, the Children of Thunder would travel down to Brazil, where Taylor
definitely
had
have the
his
money
Mormon
for
mission.
They definitely can get
there. Of course.
Yeah, that's where Taylor had spent his Mormon mission. And then once they got down to Brazil, they would adopt Brazilian orphans.
Boom, boom, boom. Easy to do. They're right there. Honestly, you just put them in a wheelchair, you put a sign on them that says adopted. That's legal in South America.
I think that's what they did with E.T.
They would then bring the Brazilian orphans back to the United States and train them to be child assassins who would only answer to Taylor.
They're going to go to Brazil and kidnap a bunch of kids, bring them back here, and make them suicide bombers.
Adopt them and train them. That is where you are incorrect. They're coming here, you're training them, because you know what you do is, all of these kids, Brazil, they've never seen a Pez before. You show them all, they're like, oh, they'll see the magic of it. They're like, oh, wow, this is incredible. What an incredible sorcery is this? They're indebted to you, afraid of your power. Next thing you know is you're teaching them how to, like, scissors, and not only for making clothes for wonderful companies like Nike, they're also there to kill.
Yeah. And don't mind Justin eating like a dog.
Everybody, every single person in the entire book, every one of them says, like, Justin and his food. That's the only thing you bring up.
It's like Holden McNeely. That's going to be half of Holden McNeely's eulogy.
Yeah. Well, ignoring such logistical roadblocks as, say, like language barriers and the fact that none of the Children of Thunder knew anything about assassination.
They didn't know anything. How would they train them?
Taylor would then take his Brazilian child assassin cell to Salt Lake City, where they would kidnap the 12 apostles of the LDS Church, the LDS president, and his counselors.
That easy.
Now I don't
dress them up as milkshakes.
Yes,
I think they went to the malt shop.
I'm completely against the culture that we live in where people are snitching on each other, whether it be Texas or here in California. But sometimes, if you see something, you should say something.
Oh, yeah.
If there is 3 morons with what appears to be a Brazilian group of ducklings walking through the airport.
They have sniper rifles.
With sniper rifles. Then you might want to tell security.
I love the idea of them all walking in single file, tied up with a rope, like you see in Park Slope. Like they have all those kids coming out of the kindergarten, like all dressed up and like they're climbing a mountain. They're all repelled to each other, whatever the word is. But they all have guns.
Get them used to the chain gang.
Well, somehow, after Taylor's child assassins kidnapped the entire upper echelon of the Mormon church, Taylor was going to convince the kidnapped Mormons to call the media and say that the United States government was behind the kidnapping for some reason or another.
Transform America.
Say what you want about the Mormon people. They're stringy and tight. They like to bike. They like the outdoors. I don't mess with the Mormons. They're also sober enough to be so full of freaking rage. Christians, they look like Jerry Falwell. You can knock them over. But Mormons, they are deceptively strong, I think.
They build their own houses.
They do.
Mm-hmm. Well, blaming the whole thing on the United States, that would create chaos within the entire country. Specifically, it would cause chaos in Utah, and that would give Taylor the opportunity to step in as a unifying figure. And when you look at that fucking guy.
Yeah, look at all of you. I'm giving you all the opportunity to gaze upon my incredible blazer. No shirt underneath it. I have a chain on. You all love it. It's opulence. You trust in me. You see my businessman-like ponytail, which I have heard described as businessman-like several times in this book. And I don't know if the man who wrote this book has ever seen a man with a ponytail, because you very rarely see a man with a ponytail in a business setting.
I'm actually going to disagree with you. I think he sees one every day in the mirror. Sounds very pro ponytail. Oh man, those that defend the male ponytail, which it's fine.
It's fine.
But there are some advocates for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the captives would then appoint Taylor as president of Mormonism, while Justin and Don would choose 12 new apostles. And bing, bang, boom, Taylor's the head of the LDS Church.
America transformed.
Go to Brazil, get a bunch of kids, come back here, overthrow the Mormon church within Utah, blame it on the United States government, now they're in charge.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
those are a lot of details.
Yeah, and finally, to make sure that no one talked and to ensure Taylor's spot at the head of the table, the Brazilian child assassins would then slaughter the entire LDS in proper ranks, and I suppose blame it on the government.
Well, that's a hell of a conclusion.
It's a lot of ideas.
Okay. Wow.
So that's right. Yeah. There's plenty of details.
Yeah. However, these plans meant nothing if the Children of Thunder couldn't even afford a plane ticket to Brazil.
Yeah.
Right. Make straight in runway.
Because remember, Justin Heltzer was a cable guy, Taylor Heltzer was an ecstasy dealer, and I'm not entirely sure what Don Godman's job was, but he certainly wasn't making adopt a foreign child army and train them in your own home money.
She took a bunch of ecstasy and watched free cable.
I think Don Godman was in a supportive capacity to the Children of Thunder.
It seems like Don Godman might have had an inheritance.
There was a hint that she came from money.
Yeah. But the point is that even though this idea is insanely illogical in every way possible, the Children of Thunder still felt like it was a good idea.
They wanted the brainstorming session to be over. That's what I think. They were ready to wrap it up.
So if this plan was going to go forth, they needed funds, which required its own set of highly illogical schemes. Their main plan for funding their ideas was to kidnap 5 people and steal their stock portfolio information, which would then be placed into another person's account, some sort of patsy, and the money would then be funneled into Taylor Heltzer's account.
I love it.
And we laugh at the absolutely stupid nature of this idea.
Well, there is an upcoming economic collapse that they are not aware of.
Oh, very much so. But the thing is that they will then seek to commit this scheme. They will start putting the steps together to do this very, very bad.
I know you were saying this before we recorded, but it is infuriating to be killed by someone so stupid.
You're going to find out how also being stupid and unable to be a good murderer actually sometimes makes you a more brutal murderer than if you are a trained serial killer.
If I have to be killed, please God, I want it to be a cold assassination where the guy almost does. He doesn't
knows what to do. He goes, pew, pew.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Yeah. It's actually very difficult to kill a human being. It's not easy at all. Well, for some reason, this idea that Taylor had... No, I know that from experience. Not from experience. I know it from reading.
Now we got him. Dog meat, I might have been wrong. You might have been wrong.
Oh, I didn't know the Ghostbusters movie. He just confessed to murder.
Dog meat is guilty of murder.
I don't mean... It was the Lone Rangers, right?
I don't mean that I know from experience from killing a person. I know from all of the stories that we've covered in our fucking journey through true crime over the last 11 years.
Oh, it's because you worked so hard.
Yes,
that's why.
It is. He works too hard and he cares too much. That's how he knows how easy it is or difficult to kill a person.
Great.
Well, concerning Taylor's plan to take the stock portfolio information, move it to one person's account, and then immediately move it to another person's account, he thought that this was somehow money laundering.
Yeah.
I don't know how. And he thought that he would be free and clear of any sort of legal implications if the money went through a single person's bank account before it went directly to his.
It makes absolutely no sense. And again, fueled by meth and ecstasy.
Oh man!
I don't know which one of those.
Wouldn't if I feel like meth isn't meth kind of a specific drug? Like, wouldn't you bullet point out? Then we take a left. Then we take a right with our feet. We go right, left. That's called walking. Yeah, we're gonna walk there. Like, isn't meth? Doesn't it also make you highly specific?
I read a thing that was a really interesting breakdown of what being on meth feels like, and that how you get used to it. At first, it's very chaotic high, but actually, the rest of it's like a lot of times when you become a long time user, the feeling is more of an extreme confidence, where you have this idea. Like, people talk about how they work on their guitar. Like, I was reading this thing, I think it was on Reddit, about how like he got really good at the guitar and he spent a lot of time in it, and he got really, and then at just some point the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Well, to make a truly clean break, Taylor planned to murder all 5 people from whom he'd stolen the stock information, as well as the patsy. And while Taylor would kinda sorta go through with this plan with 2 people, 5 would end up dead anyway, including a young woman named Selena Bishop. Selena Bishop was actually the daughter of blues guitarist Elvin Bishop, best known for the fantastic mid-70s single Fooled Around and Fell in Love. Henry, please.
Fooled around and fell in love. This is actually what's sad about Selena herself, is that it kind of becomes reversed, right? Because of her falling for Taylor. Like, the song kind of becomes, it has an ominous tone.
It kind of does.
This whole story.
Because the thing is that song is actually about Selena Bishop's mother, Jenny. Yeah. And Selena was the product of the love affair that came from the song.
But now it's all about how, like, she fooled around and fell in love with Taylor Heltzer, and it was very bad for her.
That's not good.
And tragically, Selena's mother, Jenny, would also become a victim of the Children of Thunder, even though she had absolutely nothing to do with Taylor Heltzer or his cult. Now, Selena Bishop met Taylor Heltzer at a rave in 1999 where Taylor was dealing ecstasy.
Like all good romance.
But Taylor wasn't going by his given name. Instead, he called himself Jordan, using his M2MC alias. And since Taylor always had plenty of money and ecstasy, Selena found him mysterious and exciting. Eventually, Selena and Taylor started dating, and Taylor slowly introduced Selena to Justin and Don, who went by the names Jason and Sky.
Just brilliant. This is a little bit of advice. If somebody shows you a wad of money, don't think that's all the money they have. So, like, don't think like, oh wow, there must be wads of money everywhere. That's it.
Yeah. Before long, Selena had completely fallen under Taylor's spell and wrote in her journals that she was falling for the tall, mysterious, handsome ecstasy dealer.
It's just, I get it. In a way, I sort of understand the idea that you want.
He's a very charming man, and he's handsome as well.
Well,
conventionally so, at least.
I would put him as manic and high energy, and it really also shows how low the bar it is for men for a woman to fall in love with you, and that you really have to. These guys, like, looked at Taylor.
I can send you some internet chat rooms where there seems like there's a lot of guys having difficulty.
Yeah, that's sad. That is very, very sad.
Well, Selena became enraptured with both Taylor and eventually the Children of Thunder themselves. But unbeknownst to her, she was nothing more than the sacrificial lamb that Taylor needed to work out the next phase of his unworkable plan. Or at least nothing more in Taylor's eyes. Because, of course, much more than just that.
In the planning sessions, they did talk about, because immediately he's like, so we got to find that person who we're going to kill. Like, we have to kill in the name of God in order to spark
in order to properly transform America. And so Selena didn't know she was being cased from the moment they met. He was like, she's the one, and they all were like taking her, and you have like little Dawn going like, yeah, we gonna get her, we gonna get her. And then Justin being like, I don't know, she seems kind of pretty, like, which is true. They have this kind of dynamic where Justin's like, I sure wish it wasn't her we had to kill because she's somebody I like, you know, and you're like, well, I'm sorry, Justin, you're one member of the Children of Thunder.
Sure.
Yeah. Now Taylor, he wasn't that simple. I don't know how many times I have to.
He's the character.
I'm the character.
This is out of our purview.
Well, Taylor told Selena that he was about to inherit a lot of money from a great uncle, but he didn't want his ex-wife to get her hands on the cash. So, using a variation on the Nigerian prince scheme, Taylor told Selena that he needed her to open 5 bank accounts to hide the money. Each account would get a deposit of $125,000, and when the money eventually went to Taylor, Selena could keep $5,000 from each account, netting her a profit of $25,000 for doing nothing more than going to the bank.
It's as easy as going to the grocery store or the bank.
Right.
And of course, she'd be making Taylor very happy in the process, which she very much wanted to do.
Does Taylor realize, like, the banks document all this stuff, and technically he's just giving receipts to the police?
Receipts would be a very, they would play a very large role in the downfall of the Children of Thunder.
Yeah. Also, Taylor did believe, again, and also, he believed he was the hand of God himself. Like, he was really trying to swallow his own bullshit. And there was a part of him that he had that thing where he's like, well, we're working under the purview of God. I'm going to replace and transform this country by the, you know, with child assassins. I'm gonna do it. And so God is going to protect me no matter what. Like, it had kind of this idea of like, we can operate out loud because when it comes down to it, Jesus has got our back.
It's all good.
What Selena didn't know, however, was that each of the 5 accounts would be filled with the liquidated stock portfolios of 5 murder victims. And once those 5 accounts were filled and the money was funneled to Taylor, Taylor was planning on murdering Selena herself. Now, once Taylor had someone that he could use to quote-unquote launder the money, even though he didn't understand what money laundering is, he began going through his old client list at Morgan Stanley. Because remember, Taylor Heltzer was, for a time, a successful stockbroker before he became a cult leader / ecstasy dealer.
It's also so stupid. The idea that you go through your former client list and they would have to look through all these people. What do these people all have in common? It's like all of the things that would just point directly to your stupid ass.
Because even after he killed 5 people, the one common thing that they all shared would be the name Taylor Heltzer.
Yeah. Oh my God, it reminds me of that serial predator who was a stand-up comedian and all of the victims were on his tour schedule.
Vince.
Wow, brilliant.
Yeah.
I suppose, trying to make himself look merciful, Taylor wanted to specifically target old people because they, according to his logic, had already lived a long life. And their deaths could be more easily justified as collateral damage in service of bringing about the second coming of Jesus, or whatever.
Or whatever.
Fucking idiots. Get Selena to make one fall in love with her, and then you just slowly take all of their money.
She's gonna get the fooled around and fell in love money at some point, right?
Absolutely.
And then you just kind of hang out and you serve as this woman and eat her pussy and just be a good husband. You get to run off anyway, live a comfortable life.
Come on.
Live from Northway.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Ben Kissel here with Henry Zabrowski.
Yeah, it's me, man.
Yeah, bro. Henry Zabrowski is smoking some of that sweet last podcast on the left, babe. Go out there and purchase yourself some. I hope you enjoy it. We have sativa, we have indica, and we have a hybrid. And I have to tell you, from my personal experience, they are wonderful.
Super tasty live resin. You really get the delicious weedy taste, which is what I like. And 3 different experiences. You go to your local vape store and get it.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We absolutely love you. Can't wait to see you on the road. And get that vape, put it in your brain, and have a good time.
And if you want us at your favorite weed store, give them a call and ask for them by name. Last podcast on the left, it's weed.
Hail yourselves, everyone.
Hail Satan.
So, after going through his old Morgan Stanley client list, Taylor settled on an old man named Bob White for the first victim, and the Children of Thunder began preparations for the extortion and murder to come.
It's all fucking so stupid. This breakdown is fucking so dumb.
First, Justin was sent out to buy a semi-automatic pistol as well as shotgun shells and bullets for a .22 and bullets for an AK-47, even though they didn't own a shotgun, a .22, or an AK-47.
Yep.
Don, meanwhile, went to Sears and bought a reciprocating saw for future disposal of the bodies.
Oh, remember Sears?
Los Angeles ground
Yeah,
Cessna
you
Alpha
could get all
Sierra
of your
X-ray
own
Golf
saws.
Sears
Sierra
was
Alpha
fun, yeah.
request
Yeah.
taxi.
Last time I went to
Bras,
Sears.
you get a power saw.
Yeah. I bought a Game Boy game last time I went to Sears, right, you know, and it was, I think it was Super Mario Land 2. It was
You didn't
really
support
good.
them enough. Either one of you.
We tried. I used to go to Sears all the time.
Well, soon after, Don bought 3
Taxiing
ski
to General
masks,
Aviation
3
parking
pairs of
using
water
taxiway
ski
Bravo,
gloves,
7
and
Bravo
weights
Sierra
for a
Charlie
large
Tango
set,
Tango,
as well as
Sierra
pagers
Delta
and cell
Delta
phones
Niner
for all
Delta
of them,
Delta
so they
7
could stay in
Cessna Golf
contact
Sierra
during each
Alpha.
phase of their idiotic plan.
They gave a lot of garbage onto Dawn, and Dawn just ate it up. Then one of my favorite little details is that she brought the gloves, and then they fed them. They're like, these gloves are too fucking small, Dawn. And then they had to go back to the store with Dawn and return the gloves. So she sat there as they fit the gloves onto their hands like they're O.J. Simpson at JCPenney's.
Oh my God.
In addition, each of them adopted a dog. Don got a Rottweiler and named it Jake. Taylor got a Border Collie and named it Blackie. And Justin got an Australian Shepherd and called it, in very Justin fashion, Taser.
Hey, man. Hey, you know, technically it's metal.
And they get to eat dinner together. They can be...
But these dogs were not bought out of a want for companionship or even protection. Rather, the Children of Thunder were planning to use these dogs to dispose of the bodies of their victims, and started buying large amounts of meat and soup bones to train the dogs to eat entire human bodies whole.
Guys, first of all, you gotta get... You're thinking of pigs. That's number one.
It's
just get 1,000 cats.
It's just so... It's all putting the cart before the horse. With all of this stuff where you're like,
Also,
what are you talking about?
A Border Collie, that's just maybe a Rottweiler, but a Border Collie is just going to try to bring it back to life.
Yeah, or an Australian Shepherd. I mean, they very soon discovered that the Border Collie and the Australian Shepherd, they were not man-eaters. So they released the dogs into the country. They did, however, keep the Rottweiler.
Yeah, they just let the dogs go on the street.
I didn't know. Is this the preamble to Homeward Bound?
Oh my God.
No, dude, like 3 of the dogs I had growing up were dogs that people had just dumped out into the country. People do that shit all the time. They go out to the country, they dump the dog near someone's house and say, it's your dog now, you take care of it. But that's how I got Velma, and goddamn, I love that dog.
Yeah, but it's sad.
They got to solve a lot of mysteries with Velma.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, Velma was a magic dog. She would jump up on the fence and she would walk on the fence. She was a circus dog. That's what I called her. I called her my circus dog.
That's cute.
Yeah. Now, the plan for the murder and extortion itself.
Oh, good, yeah, good transition. Really good transition.
I murdered a person. I had Velma. She was my little circus dog.
Now, the plan for the murder and extortion itself was for Justin and Taylor to simply knock on the door of one of Taylor's old clients and convince them by hook or by crook to sign their stock portfolio over to Taylor's girlfriend, Selena Bishop.
Makes no sense.
Okay.
And the other plan was they'd show up, they dressed in suits, and they showed up with a bottle of champagne and roses. And they would go to one of the client lists, knock on the door, and say, hey, one of your neighbors and I made a big money deal, and I figured you were next door, so we should all celebrate together.
Oh my God.
It makes no sense.
Right.
Then, once the checks were signed and the money was safely in Selena's account, the Children of Thunder would kill the depositors and dispose of the bodies in such a way as to make them disappear forever. To put an extra layer of stupid on the whole scenario in the first murder, Taylor brought back his old sometime follower, Deborah McClanahan, the Mormon witch who gave erotic massages to the Heltzer brothers and still sometimes dropped by the house from time to time to have sex with Taylor.
I think it's because he's still trying to get a hot chick back in the group.
Yeah.
It's really, like, he really is missing that. He's missing that vibe. He keeps looking at Dawn, and Dawn's like,
I like a mini hug.
and then he has to, like,
you gotta work with what you got, Taylor.
For the planned murder, yeah, play for the audience that shows up, Taylor. Fucking Christ, man.
Absolutely.
Well, for the planned murder of former client Bob White, Taylor had Deborah create an alibi. On the day that the murder extortion plan was to go into effect, Deborah went to the movies and bought 4 tickets to see the new X-Men movie. Then she went to Denny's and bought 4 meals.
So, it's so fucking stupid. Well, because Deborah floated this idea to Taylor in the planning stages because he was like, we need money, we're trying to transform America, here's how America works, you need collateral, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what if I go and I start making, I was talking to this producer the other day, and he said that I could make $6,000 to $8,000 a week making porno films, and I can just give you some of the money.
Do that, yeah.
But Taylor looked at him because she had the offer.
Yeah.
And then I think remembering that he already lost one hot chick to Playboy, that he said his response was, do you really want to be remembered in that way in your life? Like, that's like what he was like, because he didn't want to lose her. He didn't want to lose her to the porn producer.
Oh my goodness, much like how Mark Marrow lost Sable, which is an interesting story that I covered.
Was that his horse?
No, Sable, no! Oh my God.
We talked about this last week. We talked about her Playboy spread last week, man.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
I'm
wrestling.
going to continue to bring it up.
I'm trying to remember wrestling details. I'm trying to honor you.
Absolutely. I will say though, X-Men and Denny's. Ooh, that's a date.
Yes. That is a fun date. Yeah, yeah, and especially that 2000 X-Men movie. It was fun. I was going
really
to see it in
fun.
the theaters. In fact, I think I may have gone to see the X-Men movie, and then I might have gone to Denny's afterwards to smoke cigarettes all night long.
It's a very 2000
possible.
date. It was a very 2000 afternoon.
Absolutely.
Now, Taylor didn't tell Deborah why she needed to do all this, nor why she needed to keep all of the ticket stubs and receipts. But the thing about an alibi like this is that you need a true ride or die follower who's going to stick to the story no matter what. And Deborah, owner of a ferret named Cosmo, certainly wasn't that, much to Taylor's later chagrin.
Ferret owners got big mouths.
I love, a ferret's kind of fun.
They're chatty people.
Yeah,
no, hey, I'm not saying that a ferret's a bad pet to have. I'd love to have a ferret, but Henry, I think, is very correct in that a ferret owner is they're gonna talk to somebody at the bus stop.
Ferrets are kind of chatty little creatures themselves, aren't they?
Kill.
So when the day finally came, Taylor and Justin went to his former client Bob White's house, reared up and ready to go.
They're in there
Are
literally.
you feeling dumb enough? Yes, I am dumb enough.
They both dressed in fucking reservoir dog suits like fucking
My
morons.
turn.
Yeah, and they both got their ponytails going too.
What I hate.
fucking witnesses peg. They literally, one witness says, they call the police being like, I believe 2 hitmen just walked down my street.
Oh my! This is where it's like, should we blame Hollywood? Should we say maybe American, maybe as humans we're not ready for cinema?
I don't know.
Yeah. But since these dudes weren't great at prep work, they found that Bob White wasn't at home and had in fact just left town for a trip to San Antonio.
You're going to want to check in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Taylor and Justin immediately went for the next target on their list, an elderly couple named Ivan and Annette Steinman.
Well, because you remember this list is the top 5 portfolios that Taylor had worked at when he was a stockbroker.
Yeah. Taylor had been the Steinman's financial advisor and was still well liked by the couple. Because remember, most people only knew Taylor on a very surface level as a charming individual.
How you doing, killer? What's going on, buddy? Hey, you working hard or hardly working? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. We're transforming America today. I need your blood.
So, when Taylor and Justin rang the doorbell at the Steinman residence on July 30th in the year 2000 at 8 p.m., the brothers were welcomed inside by the Steinmans as friends.
What's the thing I'm missing?
Now, at first, the Heltzer brothers sat with the Steinmans and chatted, and the atmosphere was cordial enough where Annette took a call from her daughter. And Annette said, hey, we got visitors. Gonna have to call you back later. Didn't think anything was wrong at all.
2.5
and Taylor and
hours,
Justin
not bad.
did at least try to get Annette and Ivan to quote-unquote invest in Transform America.
You see, we're transforming.
Well, that was a flight. I still have much I need to work on in the way of learning this game, but that was a hell of a flight. Long flight. I had to turn on the autopilot there at the end just because it was pretty grueling. It's like God, what's it called? Highway hypnotism or whatever, when you're just like staring at that little ball there and trying to make sure that you stay on altitude and whatnot. You're just staring at one thing for too long, so you just get mesmerized and you start to feel a bit numb. So I had to turn on the autopilot so I could look around a little bit. But yeah, like I said, got way better at my landings. The next flight's going to be a lot shorter. I don't expect to do 2.5-hour flights for all of these. 2.5-hour plus flights for all these, so it has been fun. But I'm going to go ahead and stop this here recording and maybe go do something a little bit productive for the day, and then maybe I'll be back later.